Alright, Flameo Hotman. Welcome to another episode of... You know I was gonna do it. Welcome to the One Brain Cell. It's Mike, Anna, repping the Fire Nation right now.
Oh, Lord. Damn it! I didn't wear red!
You're repping the Cardigan crew.
I mean, when you burn stuff, they turn black anyway, so I guess this kind of counts.
So you're like the ash and the char afternoon.
Yeah.
How did you like them? Okay, so yeah, first of all, we're going to be talking about the live-action Avatar. We just we finished watching it a couple of days ago, and we haven't talked to each other like that much about it since then.
Yep.
Which could be indicative of that we don't care as much, but we'll see. We'll see. We don't know each other's opinions yet.
Do we? Okay, I guess we should start breaking it down episode by episode before we give our overall opinion, because I think that kind of transitioned the best. I would like to just start off by saying that I appreciate how they did the whole CGI background for the air temple and things like that. And like they chose to start off with like this kind of like dark more serious like tone of the like story with like that opening. But then like it just did not hit. Once we got to the air temple and we see Aang just like kind of sort of almost like flying around without his glider.
Yeah, and he was able to do that, which is I guess not as accurate. Actually, yeah, before we even go into all that, like so the way you viewed the show, you viewed it as like a previous Avatar fan, right?
Oh yeah, like I watched like Atla like how many times since it's been out? Like I think like a total of 3 or 4 times, like the entirety of its series since it's been out. And I feel like I'm not gonna say like I'm a die-hard fan, but I very, very much like hold it very close to my heart.
I mean, I also watched Avatar, Last Airbender, and Korra, but for this specifically, I tried to go into it like viewing it as if I'd never seen Avatar before.
Interesting.
So we're gonna see how that differs. So yeah, the first episode we have Aang in the air temple doing his flying shit, which he doesn't do that.
No, he doesn't. He comes in with a glider. Okay, so I would like to preface that I walked into this not thinking like it's gonna be exactly like the cartoon, but I think like I was hoping it would be like a very faithful like adaptation the same way that One Piece was done. You know, like I thought like they did such a good job in adapting One Piece, and I'm like, if they can do all this crazy shit in One Piece with all the CGI and like casting was really on like top notch, then how can they fuck up on like Atla, which is like they already done a live action movie that we shall not speak of like once before, and you already saw like how tragically that end, like how you cannot possibly mess it up a second time.
Yep, I was in the theater for that one.
Oh gosh. But like, you know, I didn't want to put too much hope, but then at the same time in the back of my head I couldn't help but like kind of nitpick a lot of the things that were happening. But at the same time I wanted to try to like be graceful about it. But like, yo, if you're gonna start off with Aang just like flying without a glider, I'm just like it feels kind of weird. I'm not gonna lie, it feels kind of weird. I'm not gonna say that the casting was bad. I think the casting for Aang was pretty decent.
It was okay. I think it grew on me. The first couple of episodes, I was not as into Aang's like character writing and line delivery, but he kind of like grew into the role, I feel.
I'm trying to remember like what kind of feeling it gave me. Like I thought that like Aang was like when he first got introduced, I'm like, okay, it kind of fits because he's like, you know, a happy-go-lucky kid kind of thing, and that's kind of sort of what he is in the cartoon, and that's how he should be portrayed because he's literally 10.
Right.
You know.
Wait, is he actually 10? For some reason, I thought he was 12.
10 or 12? I thought he was.
Definitely not 11.
Definitely not 11. One of the even numbers.
Now you got me doubting myself. I forget, but yeah, he's still a very young kid.
Yeah, he's still a kid. I think that's the point. And like, I think that there were certain details of it that I just was not interested in, like the fact that when Katara was narrating like the beginning part, I was like not feeling it in episode 1. it just felt so long. Like the way they did it in the cartoon, from my memory, it was not that long of a narration.
It was
You know what I mean?
slightly longer in the first episode, but it flowed decently well. Like it wasn't. You didn't notice it being long.
I did.
Oh, well, in the cartoon or in the original or
I
in
don't know
that
why
live action.
the live action. I thought the cartoon, like, I don't know, the cartoon didn't feel that long, but then for some reason the live action felt longer, which is like, okay, whatever. I just kind of like lost interest in the middle of her talking, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, did your interest get brought back when Gran reiterated the whole thing?
No, I thought that was cringe as fuck.
It was weird. That was weird. I don't know. And I feel like a lot of my complaints about the show are kind of indicated by that. Like the times they like shoehorn stuff in from the cartoon. Because like if you didn't watch the cartoon, you'd be like, why is this scary woman with her really white teeth like going really intense on this right now?
Right, and it's like, okay, Gran did not have teeth in the anime, and it just felt like she had like nice, perfect
that was the
white
biggest
straight teeth.
difference. Yeah, her teeth were too white. It scared me.
Well, it was mad straight too, and I was just like, I thought we're in the water tribe where like resources are very scarce, and we just, you know.
They got that water pick system going in the Water Nation.
But like, okay, and then so we had that, and then the next thing we were kind of pretty much introduced to were Katara and Sokka, right? I guess if I remember correctly, they kept kind of like flipping back and forth between like what happened at the Air Temple and then what was happening at present time, is what I remember.
Yeah, they were kind of telling it.
Yeah.
Parallel.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I guess like in my head, I'm like, I guess you can do that. Like, but at the same time, it's like you flipping back and forth felt like a little like choppy in a sense for like storytelling. Like if someone who did not watch Avatar before and they were like watching this, it's like, is it not jarring to be going from the past to the present, because you're not understanding what's really happening, you know?
Yeah, like as I said, I tried to watch it from that perspective, and yeah, you don't really understand the scope and the sequence of events, because like Avatar, like Aang is around when Sozin's still alive.
Yeah.
And you don't really understand what the hell's going on until like they kind of explain it a couple episodes later.
Well, I mean, they kind of explained it a little bit later in I think episode 1, because I was like writing all of this down, and I did it in all like based on what was happening at that moment in time, because like it just like reading it right there and then with what my notes were saying is kind of like, oh wait, they skipped around, and I didn't realize that they did it because we know what's gonna happen and everything, but it was just, but like looking back at it, I'm like, oh yeah, they did skip around. It feels kind of like jarring for people who's never watched like Avatar before. I thought like, yeah, casting the person for Katara and casting the person for Sokka, I was like, like in terms of like, I guess I nitpicked a little bit on this a lot, because like I was like so happy with like the adaptation with One Piece of like get the characters looking very much like who they are, and I'm like, One Piece is like so hard to like cast a person to look like them, because they're literally the way they were drawn, it was just like out of proportion, but they made it work. And then you have like this cartoon show that's actually based on real like race of people, and yet for some reason they can't seem to like cast somebody who looks a little bit more closely like them. I guess like that's just like me being nitpicky about it, you know what I mean? This is just me being nitpicky about like the fine little details. Like it, like at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who they cast because it is their choice and everything. I do think like it doesn't, like, yeah, like I said, it doesn't matter who they cast, but when it comes to them showing up in their acting, they better show up, and I felt like they didn't. Okay. Like I'm just gonna like skip right to the end for both of them. Both of them did not do it for me.
Really? Okay. So we have a slight difference of opinion here, because I actually got on board with Sokka. Like I think the actor did pretty much like as well as he could with the writing that he was given. Like he made Sokka as like like he kind of kept true to the spirit of Sokka. I feel made him like an interesting like character who like Sokka, like, you know, he had that conflict of like needing to be the protector, but also like, you know, kind of being like the heart and soul, like the joking man, and also the ladies' man in this version for sure.
Okay. Like, yeah, sure. I do think like maybe it's due in part like it may not be their acting, it might be their direction that they were given, or like whatever script that they were given as to like how to portray these characters, right? I do kind of want to like take that into consideration.
Yeah.
But like aside from that, okay, Katara and Sokka, like they never really like grown on me to like up until the very end. They never grown on me because I felt like Katara and Sokka, like I think all the characters in the original series had like so much emote to them. Like they were like very goofy in some sort of way, or like, you know, they just
Mm-hmm.
had like so much more emotion to express. And I just looked like I was staring at cardboard half the time. And I really don't know if it's because of the acting, or if it's because of the direction that they were given, which is why I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
like not say it's the actor's fault. It's more like I don't know where it fell off, you know, in a
Yeah.
sense.
For me, Sokka was like sufficient. Like I really like that actor's portrayal of Sokka. Like, cause Sokka's kind of a hard role to play, like live action, anyway. So like I think he did like pretty much as good as he can. Like I'm interested in seeing more of that actor in the role, like to see how he
Mm,
develops as Sokka.
mm,
Katara, I feel like didn't have enough screen time, or like at least enough like pivotal scenes to kind of convince me the same way. Because yeah, a lot of her dialogue is delivered straight, like kind of dry. Like I don't want to say stilted necessarily,
mm.
but very much like not nuanced at all. And that's like, given Katara doesn't have much going on in the season one other than like wanting to be a waterbender, which is
Yeah,
kind of like was a little bit cut in this
yeah.
season. So like her kind of motivation is just like, hey man, Avatar and shit, am I right?
Which is like, this is the book for them, though. You know what I mean? This is the water book that was meant to be like, a lot of it has to be like introduction of the character, really show who they are and everything. And I felt like we were so let down in that aspect of things, especially for like Katara and Sokka, because we
Mm-hmm.
know next book we're adding more people, and there's more, and then from, and it's gonna be like straight up have to be straight up character development from there. But like I
Yeah.
felt like a lot of that was cut, and that's what I'm saying. Like they should have done 10 episodes instead of 8 and really flesh out the characters a little bit better. And I do think like Katara could have been like the Katara could have been portrayed a little bit better in a sense where like, so Katara's not only like a very much a waterbender, right? She like has like this motherly like thing about her where she kind of like nags
Mm-hmm.
you a lot, but like also try to like keep things orderly. And then like I never got that from her. You know what I mean? I never
Yeah.
got that like vibe from her. And then yeah, I do agree. Like Sokka probably is portrayed the best that he could be in a live action, but that still does not mean that I like this Sokka.
Fair. Fair.
um, and then I think out of these three characters, like Aang is like a little bit more like angsty. Like, you know, he's a little bit
Mm-hmm.
like giving me a little bit like an edgy vibe this time around. Like I get it, like they're trying to do a more realistic perspective than like the all like goofy cartoon that we had. Like, and I kind of like realized that shortly after we started episode 1. But like there were certain things that I wish they really took into consideration. I
Mm-hmm.
think like one of the bigger complaint is they did Gyatso dirty, because at that one scene where like they were filming that Gyatso got cornered into that one specific building offshoot on the air temple.
Uh-huh.
Um, in the cartoon, Gyatso pretty much like took out an army of people before he died, and they were like
Yeah.
surrounding him, right? I thought they did him dirty by just leaving him just on the floor.
I mean, so okay, I feel like I have a slight defense of this. Uh,
Okay.
so I guess like first of all, like really a central tenet of
No,
like his character.
no.
And I guess another thing is like the Fire Nation defeated all the Airbenders in the temple, right?
Yeah.
It makes sense that they would collect their dead.
But did they collect all of them though? Because I feel like they
I
left a
don't know.
lot of armors and stuff behind when they went back to the temple.
Maybe I didn't like cross-examine the scene, but I can like something I noticed about this show is they tried to make like certain things more logical.
Yeah, I kind
Uh,
of agree with that, but like at the same time, I'm like,
yeah, I'm not sure if this is one of those instances, but it might have been.
maybe I'm not sure, but like that's like my first initial reaction when I saw that happen, because I'm like, yo, you did my boy dirty. Like, and also what happened to all the kids? Like, where they all
They're
go? Because
fine.
they were all in the corner somewhere, and now we don't even know where they went. It's like the whole like,
You can guess what happened.
I mean, okay, they went Anakin on them, but like, like I don't know. If you want to get dark with me. Don't go halfway with
We
me.
saw Gyatso get burned alive.
All right,
He got
whatever.
cooked.
Okay, but
Like,
then like my other query, like moving on, is the fact that Aang left, and I felt like the reason for him leaving was just to like have some time away and get a breather, is my understanding. And I'm like, but Aang literally left in the cartoon because he found out that he was meant to be the Avatar.
yeah,
Like,
it wasn't portrayed as well as it could have been here.
I felt like when Gyatso told him, like, this is also shortly after Gyatso told him, like, you are the Avatar. I know you're too early for this, but like, it set it up perfectly. He could have like, they could have just rolled with it and be like, Aang was leaving because he felt scared, which is
Yeah.
literally what it was. Like, Aang felt scared, and then he decides to run away from home, and that could have just been it. Like, the fact that it felt like he, from what I remember, is that he was leaving because he was trying to find some space away. It was like,
Yeah. No, they over-explained it.
yeah, and I'm like, I didn't like that because, like, I don't know, like, what guilts you more, the fact that you were just trying to take a step away from like your home while you collect your thoughts,
just like
or the fact
chance.
that or the fact that you really chose to try to run away.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird too because later in the series, like this is more so than the original too. A lot of people call him out for his cowardice in this series, which is not really something that happened a lot in the
I
original.
know. That's why I'm just like, how real are we trying to get with this? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
how realistic are we trying to get? Because I feel like if I was someone who just, maybe it's just me because I thought about it too. I was like, if I keep getting bombarded by people for calling me a coward, like, why the fuck am I gonna stick around for this shit?
Would you turn evil? Evil Avatar?
I mean, like, at the same time, it's like, would he be doing this because like he feels like it's his responsibility as the Avatar, or would he be doing this because he, like, realistically, honestly, I feel like if I was in his position and people kept calling me a coward and shit, and I literally lost my entire race of people and I'm the only one left, I'm just gonna go for revenge. Like, that's
Yeah.
what but that's what I'm trying to say. It's like, do you want to make this realistic, or do you want to make this more like the cartoon? Because it's like you're riding between the two of them, and then you're getting confused as to like what your direction is anymore at this point in time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's a major like issue I had is like it tried to kind of have its own thing, but also adhere to the original like script.
Right. So like that's why I'm just kind of like, it was kind of very disappointing off of episode 1, like Aang leaving for such a meh ass reason, and then like, just okay, he like got frozen in ice and then lost his entire people, and then
It's a pretty rough day.
I know it was, right? I do want to say that like I did like this little snippet of plot that they put in for this one, which is that they had like all the air nomads come specifically to the southern air temple because of the comet festival, because that was like the one thing I thought about from the original was like, how are these air temples so well preserved when we were
Right.
assuming the Fire Nation attacked them, because it was only the southern air temple that was like really wrecked compared to like all the other ones, and then that like saying like, oh, it was because they all came to the southern air temple for a comet festival, which is why it was like all the other air temples were pretty much untouched.
Yeah, it made a perfect trap for them.
Yeah, pretty much, right? And it
Yep.
was like specifically during the
During
comet.
Sozin's comet, so
Yeah,
they couldn't
exactly.
really defend themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, so that kind of makes like a lot of sense, and I did appreciate that detail that they put in. Back to the things that I did not appreciate. The casting of the water tribe people, like, I think like the one thing like I keep emphasizing is the fact that like your casting doesn't have to be perfect, but like it should kind of like not be very like obvious that you're not even caring, in a sense, is what I feel.
Okay.
um like Fire Nation, we know, is based, I believe Fire Nation is based off the Japanese empire, and then
Mhm.
Earth Kingdom is based off like Chinese kingdoms, and
Right.
then air temples, air nomads are based off of, I believe, just like the nomads in general, I think, but I don't know if it's like
Like
specifically.
Tibet or.
Yeah, specifically it was Tibet, I believe. And then you have the water tribes, who are based off of what? And like pretty much like indigenous of like the Eskimoans and everything like that, right?
Mhm.
And like in the cartoon themselves, a lot of them were pretty much a lot darker, especially in the southern not air,
Southern
southern
Water
water
Tribe.
tribe. They were darker. And who are you gonna be telling me this white kid running around is a part of the water tribe?
Well, I know like Katara and Sokka both claim to have like Native American or like American Indian in like ancestry. I don't know if that was the case for everyone else.
Honestly, I don't even care, because like I know that like Daniel Day Kim is like Korean, but he's playing Ozai, who is meant to be a Japanese emperor. So like
Yeah.
I don't care. Like as long as you kind of get it close to what they look like, I don't care.
So is the aesthetic more important than like the cultural background, or I guess
I
like
think
what
the
kind of matters? Because I'm not someone who notices that kind of stuff, but I know a lot of people do.
I mean, I think the reason why the original movie fell apart so hard was the fact that they literally casted white actor and actresses for like these roles,
That was the
and it
least of
was,
their problems.
I
But
mean,
it
yeah,
was
that was the
definitely was
least.
another sticking point. Yeah.
Yeah, like, but like, you know, the actors and actresses were like completely off. It kind of also feeds into this whole like Hollywood thing too. Like, but I don't want to touch upon that. Like, I guess for me, I think my biggest thing, like, and maybe like I'm just being like again really nitpicky about it, but like if you're gonna have like background characters, how hard is it to find background characters who kind of just like fill in? These aren't your main actors and actresses,
Right.
you know what I mean? This is like your background characters, and the whole point of background characters is to make you feel like you're in this scenario, right?
Uh
So it's
huh.
like if you're gonna have people that freaking stick out like a sore thumb, it's gonna really pull me away from this shit. And that's like,
Hmm.
and that was what it was. It was like you had people who like look like they came from the same tribe, and then you have people who like stuck out like a sore thumb, and I'm just like, where do you
Yeah.
come from, kind of thing.
No.
Like I'm not saying like you have to be exactly like, I'm not saying if you're like casted into the water tribe, I'm not even saying like Sokka and Katara, the actors and actresses, had to be like of indigenous background or anything like that, but like at least look somewhat the part,
Hmm.
in a sense, like without having to need without needing like so much makeup on you to look the part is like another thing.
Yeah. Maybe
Um,
because like only some of them like had like paler skin tones, it kind of stood out more. Because I did notice as well, like the one or two guys who were like, "Hey, Sock," and I'm like, "That guy
yeah.
looks like me." Like it's they put me in the show.
But like that's what I'm saying. Like it just kind of like made me go like, what the heck? Like where'd you come from, and who's your parents, kind of thing,
Yeah.
you know? And then like, um, I'm not gonna say like, you know, every Asian look alike for when they casted like the people of the Fire Nation, but
No.
like
Well, I
they're,
think they cast the Fire Nation absurdly well.
I think like, but that's because like they took of Asian descendants and like they picked them out well. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just like it doesn't necessarily mean that they're all Japanese or something. Like same thing as like how Earth Kingdom isn't all Chinese, but like
Mm-hmm.
you gotta kind of sort of like be close to it. At the very least, don't like ruin the like aesthetics and the vibe that you're trying to like build up for.
Yeah, don't break the immersion.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I was kind of like very thrown off when I saw like random like sore thumbs sticking out,
Mm-hmm.
especially for the water tribe, and this was like really weird. Like I felt more so it was happening in the southern tribe than the northern tribe specifically too.
Yeah, I didn't notice it as much in the northern tribe.
Or maybe by then we were just so like whatever about it that we just stopped caring. I don't know, like to be honest.
Yeah, it's possible.
Oh my god, and then there was like another detail that I was just like, I just don't understand. Like, Aang never showed Katara or Sokka that how to ride Appa. He never taught them or showed them like you go like yip yip for Appa to make him fly. But somehow they knew to do it to go get him from the freaking ship.
They learned off screen, I guess.
People who never watched it are gonna be like, oh, so you just ride him and he was gonna go? No, it doesn't work
Yeah.
like that for Appa. But you know what I mean? That was like such a like small detail that could have been like explained right like so fast and so quickly. Because it's
Yeah.
like a very minute detail, but like for people like me who notice things like this, it's just kind of like,
I mean, even I did notice it was like, they didn't really cover that. Like, they kind of rushed through the Southern Water Tribe, to be honest.
they did. And then like, here was the thing though. Like I appreciate the faster pace in like episode 1, and I totally regret that later on in this season.
Yeah, it goes too fast at a certain point.
Yeah, it just went too fast. And then like the CGI overall when we were watching like the fire and water bending, I think you agree with me. Fire bending was probably done the best.
It was perfect. It was so good.
Yeah, like some for some reason like water, like I would think that they all should be somewhat equally like good, but like even Earth in the beginning I was like it's not that bad,
Earth
but
is
it was also
decent.
yeah, but it was also in the dark. Like a lot of it was in a darker setting and like in
Yeah.
episode 1, right? Water just felt really flimsy. I don't
Well, I
know if
mean, water's notoriously hard to like CGI because like it has its own like mechanics and shit.
I agree. And I do think like maybe that's why it was a very ambitious thing for them to try to do. But at the same time, like I don't know, I never watched like the CGI done for the movie itself, so I don't know if there's anything better.
No.
No.
No. CGI
Like
for the movie was terrible. Like people would do like 10,000 like kata karate moves and like a rock would fly at 5 miles an hour at them.
I feel like that's why like they limit a lot of the bending because I do notice that there was like there should have been more bending in a lot of certain areas, but there wasn't in my is
Really?
what I was thinking. Yeah. Um
Yeah, do you know like what times you thought there wasn't they like held back?
it was like it's a lot of it during fights too where I noticed they tend to cut out of the actual fight itself to
Mm-hmm.
actually show this bending happening, and then they like would do something else and then they will cut back in.
I
So like
see.
I don't think it happened in episode 1 because I definitely think they were trying to put their best foot forward for us in episode 1, but
Yeah.
like later on I think I can point out some parts that I was thinking about.
Well, they did
But
the
yeah.
air ball at one point. Like the air scooter that Aang has, like they
Oh yeah,
animated
like later
that.
on
Yeah.
I felt like they did that because they had to,
I
because it
mean,
was like, you know, it's one of the classic thing we remember Aang doing.
yeah. Well, most of my problem with the show is because they did shit that they felt like they had to put in.
I know, and I agree with that because I was, yet again they don't do like the whole intro that we all love when we see like different benders doing their like
Yeah.
their properties, and then we go into long ago there were like whatever the whole like
Long ago, there was some people.
yeah,
Whatever.
sure. I think those were my biggest things about episode 1. I don't know if you
Mhm.
feel the same or different about them.
Uh, Definitely like a little bit less nitpicky. I think just episode one was kind of boring. but it also was kind of boring in the original. Everything with Zuko is like, pretty good.
Oh, I forgot to talk about Zuko. You're right. We got
Yeah,
introduced to Zuko.
you wanted to complain first before
I
talking about the
did.
good stuff.
I thought first he sounds exactly like Dante Basco
I was
almost.
shocked that he sounds and acts just like Zuko.
That's what I was thinking too. And I guess like in my head I'm like, I guess how hard is it to act like an angsty teenager? But like
It's kind of hard.
yeah, like I agree with that. But then at the same time I'm like, then again, how hard is it to act like a goofy teenager, Sokka?
Jeez. You doing my boy Sokka dirty. Ian Oakley or whatever his name is did fine.
I don't know. I thought like I had like he wasn't. So the way I remember it, Sokka has always been very annoying to me in book 1. And it wasn't until book 2 where I was like warming up to him, and in book 3 where Sokka was like probably my favorite character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like book 1, you're not annoying enough, Sokka. Like you're not annoying. You're just being like.
You thought he wasn't annoying enough. Oh. Really? Okay.
Like if anything, I felt more. And then Katara was not like I said, like all of them had
Katara
like certain...
didn't nag enough.
No, she didn't, and then she didn't emote enough too. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. It's just like I keep thinking about how they were in the cartoon, and I'm like looking at them in like the live action. I'm like, it feels different. Like Luffy in One Piece, like was still Luffy in One Piece because he's still goofy, but he still has like this strong like loyalty towards his friends. Like he has this strong like moral compass about what is right and wrong, and then Zoro has always been like very aloof and everything like that. Sanji has always been such a flirt, and then Usopp has always been like pretty much the coward / liar. They didn't have to go over the top about it, but they stuck with the main thing that made them who they are.
So you think they captured the spirit of the characters, whereas here, like Sokka and Katara specifically, like did not.
Nah, yeah, pretty much. Like I said, Katara felt like a cardboard, and then Sokka just kind of like did a lot of misses with his jokes. to me,
I feel like you wanted like Adam Sandler or something to be Sokka, like. Like,
I don't know what I want. Like honestly, I walked into this with such high hopes because I was trying to give it the benefit of the doubt about a lot of it, because I thought this is gonna be like the adaptation that makes everything all the right in the world. But like with episode 1 being the way it was, I was like, you don't even understand like how much I was ranting throughout the entire episode towards Zach. Okay, like he was just like watching it with me, and this poor man had to listen to me like nitpick every single scene because I was just like, this is not what happened. Why did they do it like this? I was just like going crazy, and I like feel like I didn't have that issue with One Piece. Like when I watch, that's why I'm just like I keep comparing it to One Piece, because like I feel like One Piece is such a
it is the standard. It is the gold standard now.
Exactly. It's like it did such a good adaptation, and then I'm like, I have such high hopes for it because this is like such a long, like such an old and long running kind of cartoon that like we all know and love. That's why I kept bringing up the fact that like One Piece, you have ridiculous characters because you have fucking fish people, like fish people. But then here, all your characters are literally legit based on like real race of people. Like casting, how hard, I don't know. I can't tell people how to do their job, obviously. But at the same time, I'm just kind of like, you guys did such a good job for One Piece. Why did this fall apart?
Yeah, I mean, like I feel like One Piece's like crew is just like. That was clearly a passion project for them, whereas this I'm not even sure really. I don't know too much about the creators. I don't know like how strongly they feel about it, but like a lot of the choices that we'll discuss later, particularly with the Omashu section, do definitely make me feel like they prioritize the wrong things. So
I agree. Didn't majority of the cast know One Piece when they were casted?
Yeah. Well, everyone knows Avatar.
Can we say all the cast knows Avatar?
I feel like they did.
I don't know. Like, it doesn't feel like they do. You know what I mean? Because I feel like if they did, they would have definitely stepped up for like their characters themselves. Like they would have stepped up for their characters themselves and be like, I think the character would do something like this instead. Or like, but then this is like me saying like I was there and I understood like what happened, but I don't because I don't know again if this is all a directing choice or if this is all an acting choice or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, it's not clear like where the division of labor lies there.
It just felt like someone wasn't really, a true fan for this fandom.
Okay. So I have a counterpoint here.
Go.
Because my theory, well, not my theory, but like the way I felt is that this show was directed by two different people. One person who did the Team Avatar stuff and one person who did Zuko and Iroh. Like the fire. Because Zuko and Iroh stuff was so like well done and faithful to the spirit of it while also adding new details that were interesting. Whereas the Team Avatar stuff, did feel lacking and there was a lot of questionable choices.
Now I really want to know if the actors themselves understood what they signed up for.
Oh my god.
Because like in all honesty, right? I feel like I feel like being casted into this, you have to have like some understanding as to like what role. Like I don't feel like this is such a small role. This is a very big role that you're like choosing to step into for a lot of millennials, especially that was like their childhood. I didn't hear like there was not a lot of like talks in terms of like who they are and like how well they're versed in like Avatar or like.
Yeah, the One Piece PR team was like crazy good at like getting the actors out there to like show people their passion, whereas this one I don't really know anything about the actors, which I feel like I don't need to. Like we might be holding them to like a bit of a higher standard.
But like at this point in time, I want to hold them to a higher standard because of the fact that like I know that it's possible. Like I know it's possible. Like the fact that you're like, if anyone's gonna tell me that I'm like holding them too high of a standard, I think they're wrong because this is like a freaking show that has been out for like how many years now? It's not like 5 years. It's more than 5. It's been like over 10 years. And you're telling me that they don't even like watched it?
I have to imagine they did, like at least for like researching like the role.
Right. Like that's what I'm saying. Like if you're researching for the role, you must have watched it, right? And I think like the other thing is that like you watched it, but then like did you understand what your transition as a character is gonna be? Like did the directors understand what the transitions of the characters are gonna be? Did he like I don't mind the deeper role, the darker role of everything, but at the same time I'm like, what the heck are you guys doing? Like make some sense. But anyways, I mean, this is my spiel for like the majority of everything about Avatar right now, even though we just only touch about episode 1. I don't know.
Yeah, but episode 1 was the foundation, so I guess here was as good as a time as any to like kind of air out your grievances on like the casting and story direction and all that.
I mean, do you have anything else to put on for episode 1 or?
No, episode 1 didn't really leave an impression on me, to be honest. Like other than like some of the Air Temple stuff and like Fire Nation being good, that one white dude in the Water Tribe, like that's kind of all the grand speech. That's all I really remember. Like I wasn't sold at this point, for sure.
Not me neither, because I'm just like, I do think like I very much appreciate who they casted for Iroh, and I do appreciate who they casted for Zuko and who they casted for Ozai. Like they were casted well
and Sokka.
Like they were casted well for their own like reasons and stuff like that. I mean, Ozai has the actor, he's like a well-versed actor already, so I feel like him and I feel like him stepping into a role, it's like into this role in particular isn't too hard for him.
Iroh, another proven actor.
Exactly. So like you have like, it's not like you don't have like a big name Asian American actors or actresses into your like set. They can only carry so much though.
Yeah, I mean they're only in one half of the story for most of it.
And they're not even the main characters of like the show, so.
They're the main characters to me. But yeah, I want to hear your thoughts about episode 2 now, because we talked a little bit about this, the Suki Kyoshi Island episode.
Oh my god, you know what my first note was for episode 2?
Tell me.
Random mom for Suki?
Oh
Question mark.
yeah, she did have like a random mom who was the leader.
Yeah, I'm like, Suki didn't have a mom in the cartoon, but I guess we're giving Suki a mom now? And
Yeah.
and then right afterwards, I was like, I wrote, I don't like Sokka and Suki getting together so soon. Sokka needs his awkward face longer, and how's he supposed to get with Yue?
Yeah, I mean, my issue with the romance was more so like just kind of how it went. Sokka just kind of was like, "Hey, you want to teach me how to fight?" And Suki was like, "It's a boy."
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's like, it's not like she doesn't see a boy on her island, but yeah, she like
She stared at him like a creep for 3 scenes and then they kissed. That's kind of was the progress.
And I didn't like that. I didn't like that they did that for Suki, who is supposed to be this like, this. Okay, here is the other part.
Here we go.
As to why I liked the cartoon a lot is because you had strong female characters, characters that do not like depend on a guy who is not like save me or what or like not even like save me, but like they like see a guy and they all of a sudden fall apart kind of shit.
Yeah.
That's what happened with Suki. Suki was supposed to be my badass bitch. She was supposed to wreck shit up, and because she's not even a bender, she was supposed to handle shit on her own. Yeah, she was supposed to show Sokka like how to fight, but it was the fact that she didn't even make him dress in the proper attire while teaching him the freaking fighting style that was passed down to the like islanders themselves. It's like, you talk about how sacred it was that Kyoshi passed down this fighting style to like only the Kyoshi warriors, but yet you don't do the freaking decency by making him like dress up as it. Like, come on, the whole point is like you dress in the attire because it's heavy armor with this metal fan. Like that was like literally the whole point of like their fighting style is the idea of like they are women but they are able to handle like heavy armors and things like that and still be able to fight off like benders themselves. And you have Sokka just like freaking like flirting with her the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame him. I would flirt with her too. But it kind of like, instead of being like this kind of like nice moment to like humble Sokka and show him there's other ways of fighting and stuff, it kind of reminded me of like this one dude I knew in college who would invite girls over to show them judo moves. And it was just like a college fling. It's just like, hey, I can show you karate, and then it was just like, just an excuse for touching to make out, which is kind of felt like was here.
Yeah, and I agree with that, and that's why I didn't like it. I didn't like that they pushed for Sokka and Suki to get together. Like, and when I say get together, I mean like literally spark a romance this early.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because their romance in the show in the cartoon does not start until later. Yeah. Like, because the whole point is like the whole joke later on in the next, supposedly in the next 2 books, it's the freaking fact that Sokka goes like, yeah, my first girlfriend is the moon. Like, that's literally the whole joke.
Now
like,
his second girlfriend's the moon.
You're like, yeah, you literally destroyed that joke. Like, you literally threw that like running joke out the window and like burned it.
Yeah, it's whatever. It's
No, it was like one of the funny jokes for me because that's what he like kept moping about, and I thought it was so funny.
Were you really gonna laugh at the same joke again if they did it?
Good question. I don't know, because it's like the delivery matters a lot too, right? Sokka's delivery, like the actor for Sokka's delivery on his jokes just always fell flat for me, to be honest.
Yeah.
A lot of it fell flat. Like his awkwardness, okay, yeah, that kind of was on point, but like his like the jokes that he was throwing was falling flat all the time for me, and it wasn't like falling flat for me when it was a cartoon for some reason. But then I think in the cartoon was because like Sokka himself was portraying himself as a very goofy person, but in this one he's not portraying himself as a goofy person. He's like trying to portray himself as someone who's serious. I'm a warrior, I'm the protector of my village, and I'm here now to protect and try to save the world with the avatar kind of thing. That's the vibe that he's trying to portray now.
like it's a less goofy show. That they explicitly stated the comedy part is not really a major factor here, for
And
better or
that,
worse.
I mean, I guess like if you're gonna make Sokka like a more serious character, I think like you should just go 100% make him a serious character. Like we were talking about before, like they just keep like going back and forth as to what they want to keep from the show but want to do something different, but it gets really confusing because your characters are getting confusing. That being said, like I feel like the only thing they did right was the Fire Nation people. Like hated Zhao in the cartoon, hate Zhao here.
Oh,
So it's like,
Zhao was the best character in this one. He was so good. He was just such a little shit.
exactly, and that's like the whole point, right? Like the whole point of Xiao is to hate Xiao, and
Yep.
I was like, hate him. I still hate him. I hate him here too, so it works.
Yeah, you're supposed to. You hate Zhao, and you also think he's like a pathetic guy trying to have delusions of grandeur.
Exactly.
Which
That's the
perfectly captured here.
exactly, and I'm just like, what are we doing wrong with everyone else though?
That's what I'm telling you. It's got to be two different people.
My next note was that I hate Suki not knowing how to interact with Sokka.
She was so awkward. It made me feel awkward.
It made me cringe a lot.
It was very cringe. Like she just did that weird smile where you tuck your chin in and get the double chin, like you know what I'm talking. It was weird.
Yeah, it was so weird, and that's why I didn't like it. I didn't. It could have been so much better.
Suki definitely did not have like social awkwardness in the original. It didn't really serve anything here, so I don't know.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like it didn't serve anything here. It took away from the fact that in the original she was some badass bitch who like was literally the leader of the Kyoshi warrior, making her, supposedly the one of the strongest warriors on the island, who is a non-bender, and you're literally stripping that away from her for the fact that to make her just a love interest.
Yeah, like looking at it from the way I was, not like trying to not think of the Avatar show as existing, I thought she was just a creep.
Yeah.
She was a hot creep, but a creep nonetheless.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was like, no matter how you look at it, even if you were like an avid fan for the show or you never even watched the show, you would just think that Suki, the character itself, was just so weird.
Yep. 100% agree.
I hated it. But anyways, I do appreciate like they're slowly kind of building a trust relationship between Aang and Katara at this episode. Like this is where like Aang was trying to help her with water bending, and I'm like, okay, this makes sense because this is exactly what happened. Aang does help Katara, and then eventually Katara helps Aang.
Right. Yeah, I don't hate how they did like Aang and Katara's like relationship with each other at this season.
Yeah. I think the airball trick that you mentioned was what happened in this one.
Oh, okay.
But you did mention how you didn't like that they didn't do the ball trick where he goes like this, and that was like his iconic.
I wish. That's something they should have taken from the show, because it would have been like so funny, because the show is like mostly serious, and then you just put in one really funny thing.
Yeah, because I feel like it's not like he's done it only once, right? He's done it like I think 2 times.
Oh, in the cartoon, yeah, he did it like a couple of times, like it was a repeating joke.
And then it was repeated also in Korra.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like this is what I mean. Like there are certain jokes that like I would not mind them putting in because it's a recurring joke. The little thing, the air marble thing was one of them. The other thing was how Sokka's first girlfriend was a moon.
Yeah. Well, with the airball thing too, like he did some airbending trick to show them that he was the Avatar. So that's why. It wasn't the airball. That's why I thought it would have been so much better if they did do the airball and kept that little Easter egg in, because they did the cabbages.
Even the cabbages felt short for me. But like the airball trick, I appreciate it, but I didn't need it, because it was like, when do we see the airball trick the most? It's always been in the intro, and that was like, it was like and in the intro, I believe he's in the setting. He was in the air temple.
Yeah, he did it in the air temple.
For him to do it at Kyoshi, I was like, hit or miss. Like it didn't matter to me if they kept it or not. Like it didn't.
Yeah.
Remember how you're like, yo, they're skipping over my boy, yo. And then I
What?
was like, because they went straight to freaking Kyoshi as the first
Oh
avatar he
yeah,
meets.
yeah. No, they had some. For a while, I thought they were having some Roku erasure here.
But like I mean, we do agree, right? He kind of went in order as to like the past life avatar of
Yeah.
who he met, because he met with Ryoku first, and then he met with Kyoshi, and then he met with Water
Oh,
Dragon. What's his name? Starts
Kuruk.
with a K.
Kuruk.
Yeah, correct. And then he meets with the previous
Yang
heir,
Chen.
Yang Chin, right? So like for them to kind of go out of order, I was like, I
Okay.
guess because they're on Kyoshi Island.
Yeah, I actually ended up liking what they did with the past avatars because they all ended up playing a bigger part in like the season one finale and like Aang's journey at this point. Whereas in the original, it was mainly only Roku, and you just kind of learned about Kyoshi like kind of offhand through stories, and then like Kuruk you don't know about until like season three.
Right.
So I kind of like how they pulled that together to give you like a better idea of like the different types of avatars they were. That's actually a change I was a huge fan of.
Yeah, I didn't mind. Like, I thought the order was like that's why
Yeah, the
like
order
the
was just
thing
like
is,
geographical.
that when I took a step back, I was like, I guess it makes sense because like they were on Kyoshi Island first, and it makes sense that like you have statues of the avatars that you kind of pretty much worship and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it makes sense for Kyoshi to have that, and then Roku to be on Ember Island, and then Yang Chen to be on the air temple, the southern air temple, right?
Right.
My note for kind of sort of in that area was Aang remembered about being connected to his past lives in a cartoon, but Katara had to human explain to him about this? Question mark.
It's a really funny note. Did she actually? I don't
I
remember
think
that.
I think she got well. I mean, I think she kind of did, which is why I had this like question mark too, because I was like, did this happen in the cartoon? Because I don't remember this happening in the
No,
cartoon.
I think he already, or I'm not sure. I think he kind of like had like an instinctual knowledge that he was able to do it.
So here's the thing. I was thinking like it made sense that like it was gonna be Aang, because what we do know about like the Air Temple Nomads is that they're more spiritually connect. Why am I not
Connected.
talking? Connected.
Spiritually connected. Yes, they're
So-
more spiritually connected than other
than the
vendors.
other ones, right?
Mhm.
Then because like Water Tribe is connected differently, and the Fire Nation and Earth Kingdom are all connected differently in their own ways, right? But the
Mhm.
biggest thing about the Air Nomads are they're very connected to the spiritual world, and that's why I thought like it just defaulted makes sense that Aang kind of had an idea as to like how he was supposed to pursue to like reaching out to his past life.
Right.
That's why I was like, is Katara really explaining to him how to use his own like people power? Like, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because she probably, I'm not sure she would even know like that that's a possible thing that they can do. Maybe she heard about previous avatars. I'm not
She,
sure.
I think it was like they were like going through some of her Kyoshi's like old stuff.
Oh,
But then
okay.
but at the same time, it was like, so they were going through from what I remember in that scene, they were going through Kyoshi's old stuff, and then Aang was like, but how to, and then she was like, oh, Kyoshi was like, you know, a lowly servant, but she became the avatar. And he's like, okay, but how did she become the avatar is what I need to figure out.
Mhm.
And then she was like reading some document, and she's like, it's all within you. And I was just like,
Thanks.
I was just like, she just like explaining to him how to be an avatar by just telling him that it's all in him.
You just gotta go out there and do it.
But yeah, whatever. I guess we'll have to get to it somehow, and this is how we got to it.
Yeah, either way.
And then, okay, that's whatever. And then we go meet Kyoshi, and
She's
I
like,
don't know,
fuck those bitches.
like I honestly did not like how Kyoshi was portrayed, because Kyoshi was always like portrayed in a cartoon as a very stoic character. She was very like, you know, it was just like the demeanor of them, like all of them. Like Kyoshi was by far like the most like out of character compared to the cartoon. out of all of them, because she was like so angry, so bitter, and like so aggressive, which I feel like it ain't it. Like that's not what Kyoshi was kind of sort of portrayed as someone who was like so aggressive and angry and things like that. Like she was always very level-headed and she was very stoic for the most part. I think like even for her trial, it was like she just was like he had to be stopped, and I just did what I had to do, separate the island off from the mainland, and then here we are, and then she's like whatever about it.
Yeah, and this one she's like, yo, sup, Aang, you pussy ass bitch, where you been?
I know, and that's why I'm just kind of like, I didn't like Kyoshi being such a dick.
You were like, why is Kyoshi mean?
Because she was, and
she
I
was
didn't
super
like
mean.
it. I didn't like it. I didn't like that she was mean. I'm like, I didn't get why they chose this direction for her, because it didn't make any sense to me. Like if we're gonna talk about characters who are usually like, or like if we're gonna talk about elements who are usually more emotional, I feel like the fire benders are usually like a lot more emotional in that sense. Like they wear their heart on their sleeve and they go a lot based on their emotion, right? Earth does not do that, is what I feel.
No, Earth is usually, you know, like steady, level-headed, like kind of by nature.
That's what I'm saying, and then here we are when it's not like that, and I'm just like, are you supposed to be a firebender, Kyoshi? Because this is what you're giving me right now.
She's the Avatar, so I guess she can be different.
No, I mean, like, I feel like, whatever.
I mean, Kyoshi didn't leave that much of an impression on me, to be honest, for the live action.
The only thing she did was just make me not like her.
Yeah, other than being mean and calling Aang like a little soft boy.
I mean, like, yeah, I get it that he is, but like...
He was like 10! But, it was an accident. In this one, he didn't even mean to run away.
Okay, yeah, I know, but it was just kind of like... You know what I mean? Like, I just didn't like how she was such a dick about it. And then I was just like, whatever, you're here, I guess, now.
Yeah.
And then, like, I got annoyed the fact that, like, it felt like Sokka just got 1 hour of training and he got good.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, this is not realistic whatsoever. Are you telling me Sokka is some, like, military genius or, like, some combat genius that he can pick this shit up and do it so well? Like, do it pretty well.
I mean, I guess if we're gonna go back to the original, he was kind of, like, very strong military mind. But this, like, in this one, he just kind of learned, like, 2 throws, and that was it. Which, like, why even bother?
Because it felt like in the cartoon, it felt like they stayed at least for a day, and he trained with them at least for a day.
Yeah.
But in the live action, it felt like they were only training. It felt like they were only training for an hour.
They were training as a preface to make out, and I told you that.
And I hated it.
Yeah.
And I hated it.
Yeah, he wasn't there to actually learn, you know.
And then my next note was literally ending is corny. Kyoshi did all the work in the end. Which is honestly really what happened. It wasn't even like Aang did anything. It was literally Kyoshi that did it. But like...
I mean, I guess that makes sense since it is her island, you know?
Yeah, it is her island. But like, he's never been able to embody an actual previous avatar at all. But like, now we're introducing this idea that he can. So that's why I'm like, I don't know where they're gonna take this. If this is gonna be a one-off thing, and then we're just dropping it all together, or are they gonna like reintroduce us again somewhere down the line?
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm not sure.
That's why I'm like,
I kind of overlooked that, to be honest.
Because to me, I'm just kind of like, you only have like 8 episodes in this entire season, and they're like an hour long, right? If you're gonna put some useless information in it better be good. Good
useless information.
Like, it better be like worth something later on if this is what you're doing.
Yeah, it should have some sort of payoff.
Exactly, because like right now, Aang only did it with Kyoshi. He has not done it with anyone else. I mean, if we're gonna say like, oh, he did it with the freaking like ocean spirit, is not the same as him doing it with Kyoshi.
Yeah, maybe that's what they were alluding to, that he can just take on spirit forms or something. We'll have to get more like explanations later in future seasons, because right now he's just kind of YOLOing everything.
Because like, well, when we get to it, we'll get to it. But like, okay, so that's my thing. And then I thought like, And then my next commentary was that he's supposed to go to the Northern Water Tribe for the sake of finding a master to learn water bending, not because of a
Right.
premonition.
Yeah, I think this is a complaint that's kind of like universal. Like they changed his inspiration for going to the like Northern Water Tribe completely, and I don't think it made it stronger. I don't think anyone felt that it made it stronger.
It didn't. It honestly like did not do anything for me just because he had a premonition. I'm like, so
Yeah.
now, and in my head I was like, okay, so now past avatars can give you premonitions now, like they can see the future now. So if they can freaking see the future, why didn't they see Aang running away?
You know how premonitions are. They're fickle. Well, the reason that they attacked the Northern Water Tribe is because he was there. So it was a self-fulfilling prophecy too. So it might as well have not been a prophecy at all.
That's what I'm saying. Like it didn't add anything to the fact that he was already going towards the Northern Water Tribe.
Yeah, and I do think there were premonitions in the original, but it like mainly had to do with like Sozin's comet.
Maybe.
Because in like, when he talks to his boy Roku, I think he's like, "Yo, a comet's coming in like a year or two, but dog, like get ready for that shit."
Right. Because the whole point, the whole journey of this like show is like for him to master the elements and becoming an avatar just before the comet happens, right?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I don't remember if I brought this up, but I wanted to. In this series, like I never, from like any perspective I was looking at it, I never had the moment where like Aang had the realization that like he never had that moment where he was like, I need to become the avatar. He just kind of does it.
Yeah.
Okay, that wasn't just me. Like I was thinking about it and I'm like, there's no really reason that he's doing this. He's doing it because of that premonition about the water tribe, but there was never a moment where he was like he accepted his destiny as the avatar and wanted to do it.
Yeah, because I feel like in a cartoon, it felt he pretty much accepted the fact that that this is his like destiny and fate to become the avatar.
Yeah.
Like I know he kind of resisted a little bit in the beginning, but then like he pretty much accepted it, and then he knew that he had to go on this journey, and the first step was to be doing water bending. Because he had Katara with him, who also wanted to learn waterbending, which is why they ended up choosing to go towards the north.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that moment never happened here, so all of his motivation is kind of flimsy and like incidental.
Yeah, then that's why I was just kind of like, this is such a dumb thing to put in. Aside from Kyoshi being a dick, it was such a dumb thing to put in.
Yeah.
Honest, and I said, and my last point for this episode was literally, honestly, the best part of this episode was the Fire Nation people.
Oh, that's probably going to be a note for every episode, I feel.
Pretty much, I think so. Any other things you want to bring in for episode 2?
No, like we've gone on long enough about episode 2. It was blah. Like it was whatever. I didn't care for it.
Trust me, my later notes, I feel like I just went into like Stockholm syndrome mind setting where like I just kind of gave up.
Yeah, I was definitely like a little checked out of episode 2.
In episode 3, this is where we start doing the Omashu episode, and
I hate episode 3 and 4. That's my quick sentence summary. It's bad.
Should we just do both episodes together?
They're kind of tied, but it's up to you.
Yeah. So my first thing was joke is weak, and I don't even remember what joke it was, but I'm sure it was a joke from Sokka, and I thought it was like, and my comment right there was joke was weak, and I was like, Eggs already saw an airbender? Question mark. Oh, yeah. And then we realized they're freaking mashing up the episode, like the plots together.
I hated the choice to have so many things converge in Omashu. Like there's like this was the time where it felt like they were putting stuff in to appease people, to say that they did it. Like the machinist, sure, if you want to. Jet, okay.
Like
Boomy, yeah, I mean, Bumi's supposed to be here, so it makes sense. And just like, so I think was this also the episode where June showed up?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like sometime soon where she showed up as well. And like most of these characters were not even that consequential. Like Jet shows up twice and literally doesn't matter. Like the machinist sure is kind of important in the grand scheme of things, but it was just way too much, and I was overwhelmed, both as someone who was a fan of the show and acting as someone who has never seen the show. I could not follow what was going on. It felt to me like they were being self-indulgent because like Jet would be like kind of doing his thing and he'd be like, "I'm Jet, by the way," and then they would pause for like someone like for you to clap and shit. And it was just like I could tell that you're kind of pandering. Even like if I didn't know Jet, I would still be able to tell that you're pandering to an audience.
Because like we were wondering why this particular guy was so important when we first saw them trying to enter, right?
Yeah.
And this is where I was like, this is such a prime spot for them to pull off a joke. The one joke that literally made me like always laugh my ass off whenever I watched it when we come to Omashu, which is like when Aang acted like a freaking old man and tried to get in, and he just keep like, yelling at the freaking guard, and that's how they got in.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever, we didn't do that.
Cabbage Man was here as well.
But his line didn't hit.
Well, it's okay. They tried again.
No, okay, yeah, I know. And then like, you know how his line is literally like "my cabbages," but like he like extended it by like stuttering it,
Yep.
And I didn't like that.
Cabbages.
Yeah, and I'm just like, nah, man, you always never did that. You never stuttered. You always just said "my cabbages," and then like we move on. Like there was no lingering.
Yeah, that was.
It's like. It was literally supposed to be like a slapstick one, like a couple of second type of joke. This is what I'm saying. It's like, this is what I'm saying. Like the jokes in this, like whenever they do try to hit it, it never hits for me. Even with Sokka's joke, because it's like a lot of the jokes that they did in the original was just kind of like, it's always like a passing moment type of thing.
Yeah.
And they're like, when they're doing it here, it just doesn't feel that way.
Cabbage Merchant had like 3 scenes.
I know.
It's just again like against like kind of the quick-witted nature of a joke. It's just like
exactly.
Like he should have done like the whole action here, like "my cabbages," like at that point. Like it was so dumb. There was so much happening. I was just stressed out the whole time.
Yeah, because I agree. Like he should have just done like his one scene, like he always does in this, like in the original, just like his one scene and done. And then we see him again later on, like in the next book or something. But like it's the fact that they like brought him up so many times. They're like, why are we doing this?
Yeah, if you never watched Avatar, you'd be like, what the fuck is up with this cabbage guy?
Yeah. And then I was like, I think we skipped the other air temple altogether. That's what I wrote down.
Yeah, because the machinist and the kid are here.
Yeah, because then like, was it supposed to be in this book or was it supposed to be in the next book?
I think it was late in book 1.
So like, yeah, because that just felt weird because now we never even get to see the other air temple and how, because like the other air temple looks different from the one that Aang was in, right? Because all the air temple have like a different like aesthetic to them, and that's what I loved about the original is the world building that they bring you into like all these like different stuff, and then we're cutting it out all together.
There's no world building in this. Another, again, like watching it as fresh eyes. At no point did I know where they were on the map.
Oh yeah, that did not even help either. I was like, you guys did not even know. Like, do you guys even know where you guys are going?
Like for as far as I'm concerned, they went from Florida to Ohio.
Right.
How am I supposed to know they crossed like the entire map to get from the southern water tribe to the northern? Yeah,
because I feel like, so this is where we agreed that the pacing went too fast, because it's like, where was Kyoshi Island and all this in between? Like, exactly. And like, I feel like they brought up the map in the original like a couple of times so we understand the layout of like where each of the empires are pretty much. And for those who don't know, Southern Air Temple is literally, think of Antarctica it's the poles. No, well, the water tribes.
Yeah.
I said air temple.
Oh, the
by
air
accident.
temple. Oh, yes.
Yeah, I said air temple by accident. But yeah, so the water tribes are the poles, and if we look at our actual like geographical world map, Earth Kingdom is pretty much China, and
Yeah,
then
it's in the
like
middle.
it's in
Encompasses
the
like a lot of the middle.
yeah, because a lot of it is just like think of it as like kingdoms and whatnot, but a lot of it is technically empty land because it's like desert and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then you have Kyoshi's technically under Earth Kingdom as well. And then you
Yeah.
have Fire Nation, which is like pretty much what we look at as like Japan is like their own
Yeah.
like island, but they have another
Like an
island.
archipelago type thing.
Yeah, and they have another island kind of sort of like on both sides of I believe of the Earth Kingdom they have islands.
Mm-hmm.
And then the air nomad areas are typically they have four, which is north, south, east, and west. And they're like kind of sort of like I don't know how to explain it, but like
They're scattered everywhere.
yeah, they're literally scattered like literally once in the north somewhere, but it won't be like like overlapping onto like the water tribes, but like they're kind of there. But also the other thing is that like this is what I'm saying about like the air temple are probably like the best world building I've seen because they don't exactly have perfect geographical space to place them. It's like the southern one, they're like all the way up in the air. Like technically they're all up in the air in some shape or form, right? Quote unquote. The northern one, I believe, is somewhere around the Earth Kingdom because they are like high on the cliff.
Yeah.
Right? And then the southern one should be like
more by the water tribe.
Yeah, more by the water tribe. And then I think the western one was somewhere in the Earth Kingdom as well because the western one was the upside down temples under like under the rocks. Pretty much. It looks like you're like if you don't know, you just look off into the distance and you won't know it, but they're actually underneath the surface.
Right.
Remember?
Yeah.
I don't know what the eastern one looks like, to be honest. I don't remember.
I'm not sure we saw that, or at least we didn't see it in the original. Like, maybe in Korra, I'm not sure. I was just gonna say I remembered something about like the pacing and the world building, where some dude, like I don't know if it's Aang or Sokka or someone says like, "Oh man, I can't believe we just went through like a great divided canon and like all this other shit," and like they named a couple of episodes they didn't cover. It's like, wow, that was a crazy couple weeks, am I right, Aang, or something? It's just like, shut the fuck up, like that was so stupid.
So like, yes, I agree that they kind of like really went fast on this one because there was like we were supposed to meet the secret tunnel people before Omashu, but this was also the second like not the first time they go to Omashu, the second time they go to Omashu. And we also didn't even get to meet the pirates. You remember the pirates? They stole the scroll bomb.
I do like the pirates, but they weren't necessary.
I know, but then I guess like the way they ended up giving her the water scroll was like, let me put it in her bag kind of shit. Whatever. I think I was annoyed that they didn't credit Boomy for the mail systems.
I mean, didn't you say the mail system like was incorrect? Like, wasn't it going the wrong way or something?
Oh yeah, at some point they were like kind of going the wrong way. That didn't make sense because you need an Earthbender to be on it to do it, but they didn't have like Katara and Saga were on it without any Earthbender, and I'm like,
right.
But then they were kind of like going up. I'm like, wait, this doesn't work like that with gravity. Like, how is this happening? But like, Boomy was credited for the mail system by Aang.
Right. Yeah, he invented it.
Yeah, and then it just never was mentioned. And then we kind of like had that whole snippet of like Aang knowing Boomy from back then and stuff. And then this is kind of sort of where all like shortly after when I wrote that, I was like, wait, so we're meeting Jet, the Western Air Temple piece, Mai, Meilin, and like all that in one episode. And my biggest complaint was where the fuck is Boomy? In this whole entire episode, where was he? Because Omashu is pretty much his episode.
Well, don't worry, he got his own.
Oh, I got so annoyed. Anyways, aside from that, meeting Jet and the crew, I'm like, okay, they kind of casted Jet and the crew pretty well, though.
They casted them well, but like, to what end? It
Exactly.
was
Like
essentially a cameo.
that's why I was like, they casted it well, but like this is not it. Like this is
No.
not the timing for it. And it was like literally three plot, like we were mentioning, three plots were coming together, and I did not like any of
They
it.
didn't tie it well
And
together at all. It didn't make sense.
no, no. And then why they got Boomy looking like a gremlin and shit. And then I was just so annoyed that Boomy looked like a freaking gremlin. But whatever. And then we have Zuko and Iroh already splitting up in that episode. But you and I talked about it. I'm like, this doesn't happen till later. This does not happen until later, where they catch freaking Iroh in the hot spring, and he's supposed to be butt naked, and then they're supposed to capture it that way.
I mean, that probably would not have been as appropriate, considering this is not a funny show.
But then my point is that, like, what was like such an iconic scene was the fact that we knew Iroh is this tubby old man, and then he goes into prison, and then my dude gets jacked.
That's in season 3.
But they're doing this kind of shit right now.
Yeah.
You know, if you're gonna do it to where it matters. Don't just like, this is where I'm kind of saying, like, they're doing shit very, very kind of half-assed, where they're taking little bits and pieces from like the original, like we were saying, and then what?
No.
You know, it's just like flying all over the place.
Yeah, I would have rather they like save some of it like for later. There's no reason they needed to do the secret tunnel now, other than like just kind of to say they did it. Like Jet shows back up in season 2. They didn't even need to introduce him now.
It was just all over the place, right? Like,
yeah,
because it was like they're pulling shit from other seasons now. And then I think in episode 4, so because episode 3 and episode 4 are pretty much continuation of each other, right?
Yeah.
Episode 4 is when we fucking see that they meet the secret tunnel people, and they're just in the cave. They're just freaking in the cave. And their excuse was, oh, acoustics better. Okay, fine, whatever. But this is literally the Lover's Tunnel, and you're sending Sokka and Katara in there together. Like, you literally said that, and then you literally.
That was not thought out, man. That was not thought out.
You literally said that love lights the way. Like, my dude. What?
Well, they tried to like play it off as like familial love, but
no, like even
kind of crosses a little bit into the bad stuff if you think about it for more than a second.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like you're doing like, no, this is not how you display familial love whatsoever.
Also takes away a device to. I'm sorry to cut you off. Takes away a device to advance Aang and Katara's relationship later.
Yeah, that was why I'm like so annoyed about it.
I guess they can go back in the tunnel, right? Like season 2. Do you think they would do that?
Why?
I don't know.
Because now we're wasting time. Because they know how to get through it now.
I mean, episode 3 and 4 was wasting time anyways.
Because if they go back in the tunnel now, they're gonna it's just waste his time, because it's like they know it's supposed to be quote unquote love, and apparently familial love is good enough. What if friendship love is good enough?
Oh, that's true. That's a good point.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's a waste of time if they redo it now. And then like, so we have that, and I literally wrote, how is Aang and Katara gonna get together now?
I guess they're not.
I guess they're not. For all I know, Airbender's gonna die with Aang.
All of the women are for Sokka.
My head. Anyway, then my next point was Boomy is weak and bitter.
He is weak and bitter. He's also mean.
Can we justify him being mean though? This is another part when you were mentioning that they literally like calling out Aang for getting stuck in the iceberg.
Yeah, they were like, yo, fuck you, Aang. Getting stuck accidentally in an iceberg, you piece of shit.
Yeah, and I feel like, I don't know if like this whole beginning part was to make it like show that like Aang accidentally got into this like situation, not like he intended for it, and then you have all these people who are having this misconception about him, so now he has to change their mind somehow.
Yeah, but it conflicts with the amount of guilt that he, like, not that he shows, but he kind of, it's like Aang has this thing where he just says his emotions in this, And
Yeah.
he's definitely like, I feel guilty for abandoning everybody, even though it was an accident. Oopsie doopsies.
Yeah, and I agree that he does say this, and it's just like, bro, why do we keep hammering that in in this particular show?
I
Like,
I don't hate that direction if they were to choose that, but you have to shift things around and change things to kind of support that narrative.
yes, and I do agree with that. Like, Boomy being Boomy is like kind of weird because Boomy in in the cartoon was this like dorky like guy who likes to eat crystals and
Yeah, and he doesn't like take the war, like he takes it seriously, but he doesn't like he's like, fuck you, Firebender. He's like, I'm gonna make a city that's hard to capture, and then if you do capture it, I'm just gonna bide my time until I can fuck you up later. Like
yeah,
he has
exactly.
a
Like,
he has a level head, as Earthbenders do.
yeah, and on top of that, Boomy being 100 years old, he's like supposedly one of the most skilled earthbender.
Skilled, wise, but still like, has that consistency of character.
Yeah, and this is not what we get here, right?
No, because he's very bitter until like the very last scene where he stops being bitter, and it's just like it feels out of character for him to revert to fun Boomy because he was never that in this.
Exactly. That's why I'm like, there's like this character that they're having this character do. It felt so weird. It just felt so off to be what Boomy is, and like such a discrepancy for like this particular like couple of episodes or not even episode, just this episode in particular with Boomy in it makes no sense whatsoever.
Right. Yeah, and I guess before you think we're just gonna be negative all the time, just episode 3 and 4 I really hated, but the next episodes kind of changed my mind a little bit.
The one thing I did appreciate from this episode was they did Lieutenant's funeral, and
Oh
then like,
yes.
and they like instead of like having Iroh sing the song, because I feel like having him sing the song would have been a little bit putting for me,
Yeah, for sure.
since the original voice actor passed. This was like his last thing before he passed away from cancer.
Mhm.
Just having it in the background music, and then like, but then also showing how this is where Zuko and Iroh's like relationship kind of like got closer, as to, and also
Yes.
explains why Iroh is so adamant in helping Zuko. I thought that was such a great display that was not shown in the original.
Yep, no, I exactly agree. And I don't even consider the Fire Nation, like Zuko part as part of the episode because it feels so different. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was like exactly what I was saying before, where the Fire Nation stuff is strong and it adds stuff that we was alluded to, but we didn't necessarily see. So seeing the foundation of why Zuko and Iroh are so close was like, that was a great choice to make.
And you still made sense for the character. You're still making sense for the plot.
Yeah, Zuko and Iroh's like plotline made complete sense to me. Even trying to look at it through like a new perspective, like it followed logically, even more so than the original because it had the extra context.
I agree. And that's why I was like, this is weird because we're having such conflicting things
Yeah.
happening in one damn episode. And then my next point was Badger wants incest, but we already talked about that.
I forgot the Badger Mole was in there. That also was weird.
I mean, they CGI'd it, and I was like, okay, we have a CGI Badger.
Well, was the
Mole now.
Badger Mole in like the secret tunnel even, or is that just some random shit?
No, I don't think they showed up in the secret tunnel one. They showed up later with Toph.
So another shoehorn thing in case episode 3 and 4 weren't like stuffed full already.
Because they did the thing they got right was like the freaking song, right? The song was right, that
Yeah,
like
secret
love.
tunnel, sure.
The other thing, and then like having to turn down the light to see the gems glowing you to the right path. That was correct too.
It's correct, but at this point, like, it doesn't serve anything in this story.
No, because like they literally was like, but things are shifting, and they realize it's the Badger Mole. But like I think in the original, we don't see that because the badger moles weren't there shifting things around. They literally follow the gems.
Yeah, the light shows the path.
Yeah.
Yeah, but either way, I mean, neither one really made sense or worked because there wasn't like there was a little bit of stress between Sokka and Katara, but not enough that this felt like it was necessary, and the payoff didn't really even stick.
No.
Like, they're just like, alright, we can hold hands as brother and sister, and the badger mole will be happy. And that's not really a resolution to conflict between siblings.
They don't, like you said, they don't really have that much of a conflict with each other.
No, it's just normal, like, tension between people who are of different, like, ages in growing up.
And they're just siblings. Like, siblings bicker all the time, but they understand where each other are coming from. That's why I was like, I didn't care. Like, I literally, my final point for episode 4 was, did not like any of this with the combos of like plots, but whatever. Who am I to say anything?
Who am I to say? That's such like that's such like a don't come at me.
No, I was just so annoyed by the whole Omashu because I was in this particular book. Omashu was probably my favorite plot because of Bumi, and they completely destroyed it.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's why I was just like, I don't even want to comment about like Bumi's like fight scene with Aang because I'm just like so over it.
Yeah.
Like,
I think we were both done at that point. My brain was fried. I didn't even like really like the fight scene was in one eye out another, which doesn't make sense. But you know what I'm trying to get at.
I don't even remember if Bumi did the little like step like side stepping. You know what I mean? I don't even remember if he even did that. I'm like, that's how much I did not even care about this fight anymore.
Yeah.
Like, when he did his reveal about his body structure, I was just like...
He wasn't jacked enough.
No, he wasn't.
Like,
and then
they
he
could have
like...
drawn some abs on him.
And then the other thing was, like, in the original, Bumi kind of slouches over, so it kind of gives him this hump. Like, he had a hump in the original, right?
He was like...
So yeah, so it made him look more elderly because of the hump. But then, like, when he fights, he, like, straightened himself up. And then you see how jacked he was. And I was like, yo, this is such a deception and shit. And this one, he didn't even have him, like, slouch over or give him a fake hump, or at the very least.
Yeah, they did a disservice to Bumi. I was not a fan of the character in this.
No, because they literally made Bumi seem like this mad, crazy guy. When, in all honesty, Bumi always felt like he's trying to do things, but like doing things in a lighthearted way is the best way I can think of explaining. Yeah. But in this one, like, Bumi had like such an audience when Aang was in the dining table, but in the original, all the audience was just Aang and Katara and Sokka.
Yeah. Like, no, I didn't buy this character at all. Like, I didn't believe him when he was bitter. I didn't believe him when he was jovial. Like, he was just not a good character from a story perspective or like a character writing perspective. He was just whatever. I'm done talking about him.
Yeah, he just came off as the Mad King, like everyone was describing him as, I guess. And I was just like, I'm over this.
He's mad in the other sense of the word. He's just angry.
Probably, yeah. Moving forward to episode 5.
Episode 5.
So episode 5 is where I noticed that they were changing the intro.
Yeah, I know you were a bit confused about that.
Because then looking back on it, I was like, they changed the intro for every single one of them now.
Yeah, it was location based, I believe.
I didn't like that.
You didn't like that? Okay.
No, I didn't like that because now you're they should have just kept it straight that this is still in book 1 water, because the whole point of book 1 was for him to learn water. Now you're just like, now you're doing a location base. Like, why?
You know what they should have done? It would have solved some problems. They should have shown the map and showed us where they were.
You know, because, okay, so that's the other thing. In the intro of the show, they always showed a map. So that's why we always knew what we were looking at, because if they'd be like, oh, we're in Earth Kingdom. Okay, we know they're in this general
they're
vicinity.
somewhere over here.
Yeah. And then like, but the fact that they didn't do that is like, where are we? And then also like, what? So now we're doing this location based, even though season 1 is literally called Book of Water. Book
Yeah.
of Water for my people in the back. Like, why are you showing other elements in this intro now then? What is the point?
I don't know. It made sense in their heads, I guess.
Whatever. It makes sense in their head, but it doesn't make sense in mine because I'm like, you're literally doing Book of Water, and then your next book is going to be Book of Earth, and then your next book is going to be Book of Fire. But then when you start, like, when you're in Book of Earth, you're literally going to be in Earth Kingdom the entire freaking time. So you're never changing your intro like you're doing now. Like, you keep changing your intro based on location based. Whatever. That's my nip. That's another part of my nitpicking that I'm just, like, so annoyed about. But whatever. And then the other point I pointed out is, like, acting or maybe direction is getting better, question mark.
Yeah, so book 5, this is where for me we start bringing some positivity, because episode 5 was my shit. I liked episode 5 a lot. It did a lot of new things with the material and things that were interesting, and it did it in an art, like a way that had a lot of artistic integrity, and I was like, more of this please. Like, make your own story based on the material. Don't shove shit in and try to make it work. Make your own shit, and that's what they did here.
Do you want to go into specific as to what they did that was different that you like?
Yeah, well, I mean, just the whole vibe of the story, like, it started with the spirit world, where, you know, there was a story with the burned, like, crop field, and Aang is, you know, tasked to investigate why this is happening, because the villagers are like, yo, shit's fucked, can you help us? You're the Avatar, right? And he's like, I guess. So he does that, and he, like, you know, starts going into the spirit world, which is something he, at this point in this show, at least, I don't know if, I think in the original cartoon as well, he's never done that before.
Yeah, I don't think he's ever done that. Like, he's never crossed into spirit worlds. He's only, like, talked with the avatars in the show. So this is the first time.
Right, yeah, and this is like this is when it shows you a major part of being the Avatar is, you know, being the bridge between the spirit world and, I guess here they call it the natural world, like the human world. Yeah. So he does that, and Katara and Sokka end up being there too, which is a deviation from the original source. And here they actually expand on a lot of the spirit world stuff, because Gyatso is there. At this point in the original story, they did not have the possibility of a human staying in the spirit world for an extended period of time. So he got to see his friend Gyatso again, which was like a nice moment. Gyatso gets a lot more development in this original, which I'm not like, it's not a huge gold star for me, but like I don't hate it. And then the most important part is that Ko the Face Stealer comes and fucks shit up. He has a much more extended role in this, because Avatar Kuruk and Avatar Roku's battles against him are known at this point. Like, you know, in the original maybe they didn't have that developed yet, but here Ko is like, has a legacy, he has a lore to him, so he shows up mad early in comparison to the original show, has a much bigger part. They do him really well. They have like a really cool vibe to the spirit world with like different filterings and different colorings of the background. Yeah. Which, you know, great artistic vision there. And Ko really gets in Aang's grill and threatens him and shows him that the spirit world is not a place to be taken lightly, especially for Katara and Sokka, who normally wouldn't be there, but the fact that they got dragged there, you know, they're more at risk because they're humans. Aang kind of has a little bit of leeway with the spirits because he's the Avatar, they respect him and whatever, but those two are free reign. They stray from the path because like they have the owl, right? The knowledge owl, which you might have a problem with.
I did. Yeah. I guess like they explain as to like why Katara and Sokka ended up being there with him, because in the original they don't go in with him.
They do obviously.
Not. Like, yeah. They were there to protect his body. Fine, like he got dragged in with them. They explain it being saying like the area they were in is like such a fine line that they ended up crossing. Yeah, which is fine. explanation was fine. I
Mm-hmm.
did changing Ko's like I guess power was interesting enough too, because
Mm-hmm.
remember in the original Ko steals your face if you've shown any slight emotion,
Yes.
and then in this one is not even like based on emotion. It's just based on like he will steal like your face when he like eats you, and that's like he's gonna wrap you up in like a cocoon and make you face like your memories and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
he throws your painful memories back at you.
Yeah, and I actually like that too, because it's like the whole point of that was to really show like a painful memory for Katara, a painful memory for Sokka, and like kind of like helps with their characters in a
Yep.
sense, like as to who they are. And I do agree, like that way they did the Sparrow was really well done. I just didn't like the fact that they brought in the owl already, because the owl does not show up until the next book, and the whole point of the owl was that he was supposed to be in charge of the library that they realized about the comet.
His inclusion was unnecessary. That again feels like it was like some executive was like, "We gotta put in the owl."
It makes me wonder if how they're gonna figure out when the comet's coming now.
They're gonna have to think of something.
Because like that was like there was 2 points to that like specific library. The first point was they realized that the comet is coming at this particular point in time. The second point is they lose Appa.
Yeah. Well, I have no idea how they're gonna structure the like season 2 and 3 now that that's been announced. So we'll see. Well, now that they have both seasons to play with, I hope they have more of like a long-term vision instead of cramming things in like they did, in this season.
I'm gonna call it now. They're not even gonna incorporate the whole library scene anymore.
I mean, they might not, and like it's not the biggest loss if they have an alternative way that's just as compelling.
I hope so, because
Which,
like
yeah, you can only hope.
because like the whole point of that like library scene was like, yeah, they find out, but like Appa losing Appa was such a like detrimental thing for Aang, that we saw like a different side of him.
Yeah, well, the issue here is that they would have to make us care about that relationship first.
Exactly, which we don't,
Yeah,
because
at this point,
Appa's,
Appa's just a thing.
yes, so is like Momo.
Yeah, they're just like creatures that exist. Appa might as well be a bus. Like,
Yeah.
he's just a mode of transportation at this point. Yeah, going back to this episode, like, it has all of that, and then it ends on a cool cliffhanger where they have Katara and Sokka captured, and Ko is like, "You bring back what you stole from me."
Yeah.
And so Aang has to figure out what that is, and all he knows is the last person who dealt with Ko was Avatar Roku. So he has to go to Avatar Roku's temple and talk to him and figure out what he's gonna do.
Which is kind of like, how do you know where to go?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like a lot of the navigation part just feels like it's just going over my head as to how to even know where to go.
Yeah, again, trying not to leverage my knowledge of the original. Like, I had no idea how we got to the Fire Nation.
Well, Ember Island is different from.
But they don't say that. I'm saying as a new person, I was like, oh, I thought that was a different country. I guess he flies really fast. That's the thought I had in my head.
So like, I think this is where we got introduced to June. And like the difference between what they did in here versus what they did in there is because what they did in there they couldn't do here, which is like have Iroh kind of be like a little old pervert about June.
I'm okay with that.
But in here we have June, hitting on Iroh instead.
I'm okay with that too, honestly. She did it tastefully.
I agree too. Like I didn't care which way it went. To be honest, I just needed to know that there was like a little bit of like a silly banter between the two of them.
Why?
And then I don't know, because it's just like funny in my opinion. And then like
okay,
I think like because June, like we see June here, but there's another time we're gonna see June again.
I mean, we'll see. Who knows?
Okay, yeah, we'll see. But like in the show itself, there's like June does show up again. Her character is like did what it had to do. She was there for a purpose and she completed that purpose. It's like kind of that kind of shit.
Yeah, her character was fine. Like she served her purpose like she did in the original. Like, she wasn't necessarily as shoehorned in.
Yeah, which is fine.
Yeah,
Honestly,
like she's a transactional character, and that's fine.
Yeah. Overall, I thought episode 5 was pretty decent compared to the previous episodes we were watching, to say the least. It was by
Yeah.
far like finally a good episode to actually like enjoy.
Yeah.
Because like they took a liberty on certain things, and then there was like certain things that they still kept, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
Any other commentary for episode 5?
No, like that was kind of the one episode where I'm like, maybe they can reel this back. Maybe they can redeem it and have something. Like, because previous to this, I had a friend who had watched it and he was giving it like rave reviews. He loved it. So I'm like, I didn't understand what he was seeing. And then like this, I'm like, okay, maybe they turn it around here.
And then now we have episode 6, the Blue Mask episode.
Which I also liked.
I didn't like that Roku was so straight up goofball.
He was too goofy in this?
Yeah, he was like cracking jokes and everything like that. And then remember, I literally had like an argument with our mutual friend about it. He was like, "What do you mean Roku is a goofball?" I'm like, "Where? Where was he a freaking goofball? Like in his younger days,
Yeah.
sure, but like when he's the when he became the avatar, he became a little bit more serious about the like weight of the world on his shoulder."
Yeah, in the original he was definitely more of like a business like mentor figure to Aang.
He was still he felt like a older father or grandfather in the original, and
Yeah.
this is where I'm like, I just don't like any, like, I like the idea of these like past avatars being here, but I just don't like their direction or acting or whatever choice that they're doing right now with it, with Kyoshi being an absolute dick and then Roku just being a weird goofball now. There can only be one fire goofball, and that's gonna be Iroh. But like,
What do you mean?
but yeah, that's why I was just like, Roku's being a goofball. That's so weird. Like Roku was like, when Aang first met Roku, he felt more like a guidance figure, like a grandfather figure. Like he cared and stuff like that. Because he feels like it was his fault that all this happened. Obviously, that's why I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Like to have his character be this way.
Yeah, Roku didn't actually leave that much of an impression on me. I actually don't even remember what he looked like. He didn't have the effect, because his role was diminished as well, because now he's kind of sharing it with like all the past avatars.
Yeah.
So like I guess he has the freedom to be more of a goofball. But as you said, he's kind of the one who caused all of this shit, and he should feel a little bit responsible for it.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. It's like we're really taking, like, I like that the fact that they're adding the avatars in, but I don't like the fact that they're watering them down in some stupid ass way. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
at least those two. I think Kuruk, they actually...
yeah, Karak they did good for, because
Yeah.
we didn't have much material on Karak to begin with.
Yeah, he's just like, I fucked up, ha ha ha, anyway, see ya.
Yeah, like, we didn't have much information on Karak anyway, so, like, they had the liberty to, like, do whatever they want with him.
Yeah.
But we have information about Kyoshi, and we have information about Roku.
Oh, we know everything about Roku.
Right, so that's why, like, Roku being a goofball, even though he is partially the reason why all this shit happened in the first place, is kind of like, have some fucking, awareness.
Yeah, definitely not a great decision for Roku.
Whatever. And then my next point was that, so Aang versus Zuko, right? There was at one point where I felt like there was like, this is one of the big ones, because I have to point it out that there was a good moment here specifically of showing Zuko doing like angry firebending like he was in the very beginning in like book 1 of like even the original show. Even just after losing to Aang, like, remember how like Zuko, he always used to be super angry, and like whenever he gets really angry, like he blows out fire, or like he does something with like fire bending. He didn't, and I thought that was such a good moment to really show that, because I think one of the biggest thing that was pointed out was the fact that in book 1 and book 2, a lot of Zuko's firebending was out of anger, and he grunts a lot. He's like showing anger, displaying anger, and also firebending at the same time.
Yeah.
And then what changed was in book 3, when he finally calmed down and he understood like the real like meaning behind firebending. Then he stopped like doing like this angry grunting firebending kind of shit, and I felt like they could have incorporated that so subtly, but they missed doing that at that one point in time, because there was not a lot of bending, to be honest, for that was displaying for Zuko. Like maybe in like the first one and maybe when they were at Kyoshi, but he didn't really do it that much in Omashu because the whole point was not to give yourself away as a firebender.
Yeah.
And then you have this one part where he and Aang were actually like fighting off with each other, and they just kind of like miss a good opportunity, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, his fighting style at this point is pretty spot on. Like, he's very flashy and tries to do like high damage moves, essentially. Yeah. And the actor Dallas Leo, for him, like, he definitely captures like the mood, like,
yeah,
because like he'll like end a scene like frustrated and he'll like be breathing heavily and be like fuck, and he'll just like walk out of the room and like shit like that, and like he'll like get kind of teary-eyed if like someone's giving him shit.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
he did a really good job capturing it. But yeah, that I guess that is a subtlety that I didn't directly notice, but now that you point it out, that is something they could have incorporated. That would have been effective, but
yeah, because I felt like that could have also like give a subtle, like, this is from the original and they could have used it because it's such a subtle point in like displaying Zuko's growth.
Yeah, the only thing that I would possibly say is like a potential argument against it, I guess, like in lieu of like now they have the 2 extra seasons, so now they could have done it, but we didn't see enough other Bender styles to kind of have that like point of reference, you know?
Yeah.
Like, because we've seen Ozai firebend a bit, and we see Azula firebend a bit, and they're also like super aggressive.
But their aggressiveness never like showed out of anger, because like Ozai, when he firebend, he just like firebends. He doesn't like grunt, like he doesn't have like that anger grunt or whatever to him.
Yeah, but we don't.
Azula kind of does, if I remember correctly, and then like, but then like other firebenders that like we've seen, they don't do like any like type of grunting, like specifically the way that Zuko does it.
Yeah,
but like
that's a detail that would have been like nice, but I guess it'd be hard to like recognize it at this point.
But also it just felt like, I don't know, overall maybe it's because it's such a short show compared to the original or something like that, that it felt like there was not a lot of display of like bending to begin with. Like we get some bending like here and there in every single episode, but it's not like, it just feels like bending isn't very much the main focus point here. The main focus point is literally like whatever the plot we're choosing to do today or do in this episode.
I mean, yeah, now that you say that, like the focus of the show at most points is kind of unclear. Are we focusing on the plot? Are we focusing on the characters? Are we focusing on the fan service? Like for a lot of episodes, it's not clear what we're focusing on.
Like, think about how many times you've seen Katara waterbend, and then make you wonder like how is she practicing to get better. Like, we're just assuming she's practicing off screen to get better. And then how many times have we seen like Zuko firebend? I mean, yeah, I feel like Zuko and Aang we've seen the most in terms of their bending. Earth bending we only seen like pretty much with Boomy.
Yeah, we see Boomy and like some randos.
That's it. The whole point, my point is that like overall we don't really see a lot of like bending in every single episode, which I don't know if it's because of like the amount of episodes we're watching or just like them not choosing to do it. Because if you think about it,
they're cramming too much stuff in.
Yeah, because like if you think about it, even in this, when they did the Spirit World episode, you can't bend in the Spirit World, so that's like almost like half an entire episode that you can't see any bending.
Right. Well, that's also probably why that episode felt more focused, because their scope was more limited because they couldn't just throw shit in there.
Yeah, but episode 6 was just like, I thought it was alright, like, because we see Zuko saving Aang and then like Aang saving Zuko, so it's just kind of like it helped. That's
to see
like
Zhao, my boy.
But like I think the point of that episode was literally like for the building, like Aang understanding Zuko, right? Because Aang didn't understand Zuko before. I don't think this even happened. Did this happen this early, or was it a little bit later?
No, it happens pretty early.
Okay, so it makes sense. But that's all the real commentary I have for episode 6.
All right. So what happened in episode 7? Is that where they got to the Northern Water Tribe?
Yes, because my first comment is, Saga is such a dude and I hate it.
Wait, what dude thing did he do?
I think it was the fact that he became so infatuated with Yue.
Oh
And I'm
yeah.
like, how long ago was it that you even kissed Suki, you freaking punk ass bitch?
He's a teenage boy. And Yue is a princess.
My point was, I didn't like it.
Didn't like it. Okay.
Because now you're just trying to portray Sokka as a player.
Yeah, and I guess like he does have like a decent amount of romantic encounters, but they're not so much like of his own
Overlapping.
volitions. Yeah, they're not overlapping. They're like multiple like months or weeks apart.
Suki's not dead.
Suki is not dead. I don't know. It was a different time.
I didn't like it. I hated it. And then
is that the only thing? Yeah. What else you got?
I liked the addition of Karak.
You liked it or didn't like it?
I did.
Yeah.
I did like it because I was like, it gave him more of a character than we got in the original because we barely saw him in the original. All we knew about him in the original was that his lover's face got stolen by Ko.
Yeah.
That's all we knew. But now we get more about him, that he pretty much left for the spirit world because he understood that there was like something bad happening there.
Yeah, and I actually really like the characterization they have here. I don't know if they like got more lore from the novels or something, but he's like all scarred and like he's really like bitter about it, and he's like, I did my best but I still failed, and like he's like angry, like after I lost my wife, like I didn't care about anything else other than getting like, you know, revenge and trying to set things right with the spirit world, and because of that shit got fucked up in the natural world.
Yeah, and that's the thing, I like that because like if we think about it, I know we said that the spirit temple, the air temples are like, air nomads are more, as people, are most connected to the spirit world, right?
Yeah.
But we know from Korra where the most spiritual place on Earth are the poles.
Yeah.
So the two poles are like the entry point between the natural and the spirit world. And that's why it made sense to me as to why he's like very easily able to cross between the two worlds, and why he's so adamant about like trying to do things in the spirit world. That could have prefaced Korra a lot better too. If you think about it, right? If it could have prefaced Korra a lot better, because the whole point of Korra is like, you know, original, like one is like the whole like Anon thing, and then but the next thing is literally about the spirit world and like the connection between the natural and the physical, and like the how the avatar themselves is supposed to be like the one person to help connect them and stuff. And like we never got that in the kind of pretty much in the original like Last Airbender, but we definitely got that here, and I like that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like we got a lot more like lore on like what the avatar could be, how the avatar could fail. So we got a lot from Karak, and like he was also just like a compelling character in this, which is interesting because Roku and Kyoshi were not as much.
It's really weird, right? It's like they failed on the two characters that were like pretty prominent in the original, but they did really well on the one character that wasn't really.
Which is, it's like the same thing with Ko the Face Stealer. Like they did well on characters who like they could kind of make their own thing, but on characters who they kind of wanted to have it both ways and be faithful, but also serve their plot and their purpose, like that they kind of, those characters didn't feel believable.
Exactly, and I think should tell them, like, you know, moving forward, you have to make characters make sense on your own without heavily relying on the original. And then but then you have to also make the plot make sense too, instead of mashing them all together.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, it's like I get it. It might be a hard ask because you have very much diehard fans around the world about this show since it's been around for so long. But that doesn't mean like you should be butchering it in any sort of fashion.
The way I see it, like fans are going to be disappointed or unhappy no matter what you do. So you might as well take the material and do what you want with it. Tell your version, you know?
Yeah, because if you're going for a darker, like more realistic tone of things, then just do that and not stop having the fuck arounds is really what
Yeah.
I'm thinking about. Because you
Yeah.
can change Sokka's character
Sure.
without having him being goofy. You know what I mean? There's so much you can do and make it
Hmm.
your own and still make it good. But you're choosing to balance between the two, like making your own and not being your own is like that's dumb. You can take shit from the original, but not like have it completely change the plot.
Yeah. Like you could use that. Like it's a resource for you. It shouldn't be like something that restricts you. It should be something that lets you like have a jumping point. You know?
Yeah, like I think like mashing the three plots together just did not make any sense. They should have been their own like individual episodes. If they're
Or
important
just
to be,
cut them.
yeah, like just cut out the fluff is really like that's why One Piece worked because they just cut out the fluff and focus on the main points, kept their but so like kept their character in like the development of their character the best way possible by keeping them true. Like they didn't change the characters that dramatically. They just made sure that the characters made sense is like the
Yeah.
biggest thing.
That's
Um
that's it. Your story's gotta make sense. It's gotta be compelling. It's gotta feel good.
Yeah, because like you have the groundwork, you have original source material. You just have to understand how to like portray it. I guess is the best way of saying.
Yeah.
My next commentary is pretty much saying never seen so much of Azula and Ozai struggle.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't really focused on early on. Uh,
It never was though. Like the struggle between Ozai and Azula, I felt like never really was such a big focus, and now it kind
yeah.
of is. You know, because like Azula always knew she was the favorite in the show, and she just like
Yeah.
she was never jealous of Zuko.
No, she never had to like compete or like feel like she had to earn her father's like affection. She had it because she was already of that mindset.
Exactly. So like to have Azula's character be like that, I was like, I don't know how I feel about it just yet.
Yeah, I was like I'm not making a judgment on that yet. We'll see if it ends up like kind of having a payoff later, but for now it's like sure.
Because like Azula's biggest thing was that she never got her mother's affection that like Zuko did.
Yeah.
Which was like the reason why she was always so good with her dad. It's just but also the reason why she always hated Zuko. Which I
Right.
felt like could have been still a very good character development for Azula.
Well, they definitely could touch on it next season, which is kind of like how the progression went originally as well.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like something about this Azula, I was like not really buying into like a lot of the stuff that was happening. And
Yeah.
even like May and um
Tylee.
Ty Lee, their character is so bland.
Yeah, I gotta see like them more, like doing more stuff, because right now they were just like watching Azula do stuff, and Azula was just like, need to get stronger.
I'm trying to give the two of them the benefit of doubt, but like they're not the same characters as we saw them to be. You know, because like Ty Lee is supposed to be like this really cheery, like optimistic girl, and then May was supposed to be like this downer, gloomy, like pessimistic girl. Kind of like they kind of like in the sense they were supposed to kind of play off each other, but I
Yeah.
wasn't getting anything like that off either of them.
Yeah, they didn't really establish that dynamic yet. They were just Azula's friends, and again, it was just like, look, it's the thing from the original. Here it is. So hopefully they develop that more in season two. I'm really hoping they take the feedback that they're getting from season one and make improvements to
I think
seasons
they
two and
should.
three.
I hope so, but because I really did not think they needed to introduce them this early.
Yeah, like I think this could end up still being a really great show if they, take what people are saying to heart. Keep the good shit, take out, like, change the bad shit, just kind of adapt.
I'm hoping so, cause like I really like May and Tylee, cause like they kind of like balance out Azula a lot with the way
Yeah.
they are. So like see them kind of being there, but not really adding anything to anything in my all honest opinion. Was just kind of
Yeah.
like, why would they even introduce this early? They could have saved it for like next season for all we care.
Yeah, they're like Azula's tether to her humanity. Like when she loses her friends is when she really goes off the deep end.
If we're gonna portray Azula as like this type of character where she like is so reliant on her dad's approval, when in reality in the show it was her mom's approval that she was so unhinged about, it feels, I don't know, like it feels kind of like different. And I'm not gonna say I hate it or like it right now, because Azula is one of my favorite characters because of how like big of a range of a character she is. So I guess I'll have to see how they are gonna portray Azula. I think like a lot of people don't like the fact that like she's so baby face, and compared to like in the show itself she's very sharp featured. Same thing with like Maylin and Kylie. They had like a lot more of a sharp feature in the show.
Yeah, but like that's not something you should really consider too deeply when you're casting for a role. Like
No, but Kylie better be able to do acrobatic shit.
well, I mean, we'll see. She can get a stunt person or whatever. I mean, she'll have time to train.
But like, I mean, this is like also like the little nitpicky stuff that I was like looking at too, because I'm like, you know, character choices. Like, if these characters are gonna be flops for me, and this is like who you're choosing to flop with, I'm gonna be very disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have to focus more on character in like future seasons, especially like, yeah, those like Azula's like not is like kind of one-dimensional at the moment. Like
Yeah,
she's not fully developed yet. Tylee and May are not developed at all, other than their existence. So like they need development. That's the end all.
That's why I was thinking, I'm like, is this too early of an introduction for all like for these characters? Because I don't.
I mean, it doesn't not necessarily like if you just want to kind of plant the seed, but
I mean, like when does Azula get introduced in the original?
like the first time she actually says something is in season 2.
That's what I'm saying. Like they could have just waited till season 2 to really like because right now they're just dumping everybody and it's just overwhelming. And now you have Azula in the picture on top of that. It's just a lot, you know? And like we already see that she has her freaking blue lightning power too. Like the whole point of the blue lightning power was so it's like, whoa, she can do that kind of thing.
Yeah,
I didn't really felt that.
Yeah, like watching it as like a new person, I was more confused than like impressed. I was like, is that like a firepower? Because like there's no frame of reference inside of this show itself as to how lightning and fire are connected at all.
Right, because the first time we ever see a deviation to a power, was that Azula or was that bloodbending?
Lightning bending, I believe, was first.
I think like they are not setting Azula apart enough because they're introducing her so early and too rushed in my opinion, which is why I'm hoping this doesn't become a flop, because Azula is one of my favorite characters to watch. But like this is like kind of sort of heading in that trajectory because of the fact that they're introducing her a bit earlier than like intended for, and like a lot of it felt rushed. Like her power isn't even like specifically like showcasing to its like potential or extent that it could be.
Yeah, I'm not willing to judge one way or the other yet. Like, I think the way she introduced was not great, but like nothing was directly taken away necessarily. So she just in my mind, she just exists. Tylee and May just exist. So we'll see what happens with them in season 2.
But I think that's my issue. If you're gonna introduce a character, I need them to more than just exist, or just not introduce them at all.
Yeah, you know? Well, it has to do with them, as you said, stuffing all these things in there because they have to.
Because like if you're like stuffing all these characters in here, you're like taking away from the main character's developments, which is what they're actually doing.
They did.
Like,
yeah.
With that being said, that's my thing about Azula right now, with her being her struggle with like Ozai, which I'm like, Ozai's just a bad dad. Whatever, we know this.
Yeah, Ozai's easy to characterize. Like they did fine with him because like he's not a highly complex man.
No, he's just a bad person. I did think like Paku versus Katara's fight. What did you think about actually Paku's versus Katara's fight?
Um, it was a bit short.
Yeah.
I didn't mind it. Like I thought it was interesting. I didn't hate it. It didn't wow me, but I didn't hate it.
Like I feel the same way, but at the same time, I'm like, why does Katara's face look so like? If I wanted a stoic Katara, I would want her to be an Earthbender then. That's my take.
Yeah.
Like, Katara not even like emoting a lot as much as she does in the cartoon. Okay, she doesn't have to emote as much as she does in the cartoon, but when she does have a scene, can you please like emote some type of emotion towards me? Like, show me that you're like sad, or show me that you're like in distress, like you're really trying to fight hard about like to like get him to like accept you as like a waterbender.
She showed like a little bit, but definitely not as much as she could have. It's an odd take on the character. I don't really know what to do about Katara in like future seasons, because at a certain point you wonder why she's even here other than like plot reasons. Like I know she mentioned having like, you know, the Avatar being a story that's passed around, so she's like down with that shit. But it's hard to tell how she's feeling at any given moment, as she said.
And that's my greatest issue with her. It's just kind of like, what are they doing? Why are they together? They don't necessarily need to leave the Southern Water Tribe, because like she could have just gotten the scroll and learned from there, and then Sokka could have just stayed and protect the village. But they chose to leave with him, and it's just kind of like, why? What is the point? And like they're not giving me any compelling reason to believe one thing or another. And for some reason, Sokka and Katara both are like very flat in like emoting their like expression. And I feel like on a normal basis with like you and I, like we don't have to emote our expression. But like if you're trying to portray emotion on like a freaking TV show,
I'm too emotive.
but like you know what I mean, like if you're trying to like portray an emotion on a TV show, you have to like emote like a bit bigger so like people understand like the emotion that you're trying to portray.
Yeah, unless that's the character, but for this I wholeheartedly agree, because they have to portray their character motivations in a very limited amount of time. Yeah. So they very much can't go for subtlety here.
No, and that's why I'm just so annoyed by it, because I'm like literally watching how many episodes that we're in now, and I still feel like Katara is a fucking cardboard and Sokka is just like a cardboard as well.
He's a cardboard who gets ladies.
Yeah, somehow. And I'm just like, I just don't like anything they're doing for them. And I hate that.
Yeah.
That's like what's happening right now. Because Katara, like my first watch, Katara was my favorite character. My second watch, I think, who was my favorite? I don't even remember who my favorite character was in the second run. But like my third run and my fourth run, it was like always between Sokka and Zuko. I mean, and Azula has always been a favorite character because I like strong bitches. But like, and this is not showing me shit.
You're not showing.
No, you're not, because you're showing me like a girl who has like inferiority like complex kind of thing, because her dad isn't letting her go off doing whatever she wants to do, as opposed to original. She has confidence in herself. She like was like, yo, let me go take out Omashu for you. And then you have Suki, who was like a badass warrior who can't bend but can rightfully so take on like benders herself. And then Katara literally becomes like a really good waterbender in such a short amount of time that she trains in the Northern Water Tribe under Paku, which is why I am like, what are happening to these damn characters? They're like really butchering a lot of these females' character for me.
Well, what did you think about Yue on that note?
I like what they did with Yue.
You like what? Okay.
I like what they did with Yue, but I don't like her costuming for some reason.
Yeah, you mentioned that. I've seen that complaint online as well. I'm not like, I didn't notice, but I'm also not one to notice that. Like, is the costuming too bland or something?
Actually, I didn't really, because like I said, I never watched the live action.
Yeah.
But Yui's costuming, when I saw it from the live action movie, was like, it looks better for some reason. Like, I don't know, it looks prettier in my opinion.
I think if I'm not mistaken, the actor who played her in the movie was actually her voice actress.
Wow, that's even better.
Which was, yeah, Yue was actually one of the better parts of the movie.
Yue in the live action movie had like a better look to her in my opinion, to look more like Yue.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if the lighting is also like affecting it. But then in the in the cartoon, or not the cartoon, the show, I felt like they're trying very, very hard to kind of replicate her, to the point where I'm like, you're losing the point and aesthetic of what it could be.
Mm-hmm.
Because like in the movie itself, I felt like they took the liberty of like costuming her a little bit differently, but still has a very much a northern water tribe. Like she had the like hair things in her, and it was like very evident with the hair, like the hair clips in her. She didn't really do like this exaggerated updo thing that they do in the show. Because in the show, like they literally are trying to copy her hairstyle to the T, and I'm like, there's no necessarily like need to be doing that.
Yeah.
This is like one of those moments where like I'm like, you could take a liberty here. Like you don't have to make it so difficult for the actress herself to be like suffering under this wig, or like, you know what I mean?
But what did you think she did good in this show?
The fact that she delved more into the fact that she's a very spiritual person, because of the fact that she got like she got energy from one of the spirits.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, they incorporate, and this is why we said code. That episode of the spirit world was more interesting, because Yue was the fox in that, because she goes into the spirit world a lot. So it makes a lot of sense as to why she's so knowledgeable about the spirit world and knowledgeable about the spring itself. I like that she just isn't just a princess, you know. I like that she takes part into like the whole water tribe. Like as a female in the water tribe, you are usually a healer, but like I like that she takes pride in the fact that she's a healer.
Right.
And I like that she takes pride in like who she is and stuff like that. And she like very much is probably like the strongest like female character in here, because she's like, I make my own decisions. Like she married a guy. Right? So like she makes her own decision, and even though she's a princess, she still tries to do like things to help the actual like tribe itself. So that's why I like what they did with Yue here, because it's more than what Yue was doing in the actual show itself.
Yeah, you're so right about her being the strongest female character in this entire series. Like, they did her really well. And again, she was a character who didn't have as much development in the original. So, we're sensing a trend here.
I know, we are. And it's like disappointing in a sense that like your main characters aren't getting like well developed, but your like underdeveloped characters are. I think like one of the other things that I was just kind of like, what's going on here? Like, so I wrote out, so Ice Moon is like a solar eclipse thing now, because I was like, this is weird. Like, this is like a random thing to throw in, but I guess okay. And then we're like, wait, so this only happens once a year that the spirits come down? Because it's like, it's just so coincidental like to be when they came.
That was weird. That feels like it was something that they meant to cut from the script, but they didn't. Like, because it didn't relate to anything.
It didn't make any sense because they didn't know it, and it's like it's just like a coincidence, like a plot, like plot armor-ish kind of thing.
Yeah, that was weird.
Because in the original, they said the spirits like are there all the time.
Right.
Because the moon and the ocean are always like in pull and like push with each other, because they are the one who control the moon and the ocean. So that made sense why they're on Earth or the physical world all the time, because they're controlling it.
Well, was it that they were in the physical world like for one night, or was it that like I think they mentioned that they could take like various forms, like maybe they're only the fish for that one night. I don't know. It was like such a like kind of throwaway line that like it was not clear what they meant by that at all.
My understanding was any spirits can come like into the world, and they come in different forms.
Okay.
And it just so happened that the moon and the moon and the ocean spirit, they come and they specifically come to that oasis, but they only come once a year.
That was dumb.
I know.
Like,
That's why I was thinking.
that's just it. It was dumb.
And the thing is that if Xiao went to the library, then he should have known what the spirit was.
Did he go to the library? I forget.
Yeah,
they did show it. Yeah.
These are such random offshoot things that I'm just kind of like, whatever. I guess it's like a minor detail.
Yeah, like we're almost done.
Yeah, in the original show, he actually went to the library, but in this show, he just went to the Far Ember Island where a lot of the like old scriptures and stuff were to try to figure out, and he didn't know what it was, so that's why he brought Iroh with him.
Right.
But like, and I think in the original, Iroh was not with him.
Iroh was with him, but in a different capacity. Like, he was just like, Iroh, I need you as like to be my like lieutenant in this.
Yeah.
Like, you know, help me take over this thing. And Iroh's like, yeah, sure, whatever, because he was just kind of like looking out for Zuko, because Zuko was gonna be there.
The other thing, I was like, how does he know which one's the moon? If he didn't even know what they look like to begin with, how did he? There's two fishes. How do you know which one's the moon? You're like going 50-50 at this point.
Yeah, well, I know when he lifted it, it like had a change in the moon, so that definitely confirmed it. But like before that, he would have had no idea.
Exactly. So that's why I'm just like, I guess we're just rolling with the punches here.
Yeah.
And then he brought the freaking knife, when in the show he just literally just firebend it. And I'm like, why do we just take away the firebending part and bring a knife here?
It's the spirit stabbing knife. It's very important.
Like, whatever. That's why I'm just kind of like, I guess like the whole point of the knife was so Korra could like be like, dang, my knife is nearby.
Yeah, he's like, yo, that's my spirit stabbing knife. Someone else got it somehow.
But like Aang in the like, it was like, is that unnecessary detail? Because Aang himself
no.
That's what I'm saying. It's like there are certain things where I'm like, you can change and I'll be happy for it if you can make it make sense for me. But like your changes are like, isn't necessary. It's just like added details that wasn't really needed, and you could have just saved us time to be doing something else with it. You know what I mean?
Yep. No, wholehearted agree.
And then Godzilla Aang.
Godzilla Aang was fine.
Godzilla Aang was fine.
It's whatever. It was pretty much played 1-to-1 from the original.
Yeah, and then I mean, I guess it's fine. And then like, I guess like the detail was that like, but Aang in the original was like, he just got really mad and then he connected with the spirit, is what I remember.
Yeah.
But in this one, he voluntarily chose to like be with the spirit, knowing that he can lose himself.
Yeah, like he had the extra like guidance from Kuruk in this matter, so he was just like, all right, let's go.
but then this brings back to our original other point, was like, if he lost himself being that spirit, then the whole point of him doing this whole Avatar adventure shit did not even matter.
I don't really understand the whole losing yourself mechanic, since it hasn't happened yet.
Right, but like it's the fact that they were pointing it out, and in my head when they were talking about it, I'm like, so what you're saying is, if Aang chooses to be a part with the spirit and there's rampage across, then Aang is literally gonna lose himself and never be himself ever again. So that means there's no Avatar.
Yeah, I guess the moon spirit would have to do it.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like, nothing about that like plot made sense.
No.
Like Aang just
really.
all of a sudden, Aang just abandoned the fact that he was going to be an Avatar. Aang abandoned the fact that he was going to learn water bending so he could be.
Aang barely cares about that in this show, though. He's like, I guess I'll learn water bending since I'm here.
I know. That's why I'm just like, what the fuck?
He don't care. He doesn't care about being the Avatar.
That's why I stopped caring.
Yeah, honestly, it kind of takes you out of the show too.
Yeah.
It's like, why should I care more about Zuko? I want him to win.
I know. And then I think the other part, like, after all that, I'm just like, okay, whatever. The fight's done, and da-da-da-da. And then Paku gives Katara a little bit of the Oasis water.
Right.
But for some reason, in this one, he doesn't tell her it has special healing powers. Why are we, like, forgetting to incorporate these details?
That detail doesn't matter. The detail that matters is that Aang might lose himself to the water spirit.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know.
But this is like, we both know that's an important detail for later on.
Very important detail for later on.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Something that should be alluded to now.
I know, that's why I'm just like, whatever. And then like, okay, and then we go into the fact that Azula pretty much took over Omashu because the Fire Nation attacking the Northern Warrior tribe was just a distraction. Fine.
Sure.
I will take that as a mechanic of the plot. Sure, whatever.
Yeah, I don't hate that. That was Avatar.
That was Avatar. Like, overall, my take was like they're trying to do like a darker, more realistic of it, with like actual consequence of like the world and like war and things like that. And the only thing that they have going for them is the costuming and the background that like did a lot of the heavy lifting for world immersion.
My overall impression after I like slept on it and thought about it is that this show is kind of hard to watch if you don't know Avatar already, because you have to do a lot of work to put the story together.
Yeah. I don't know how people are gonna watch it. I don't know what the reception is. I haven't looked into like what the word is so far.
Well, the viewership is good.
I heard the viewership is good, but then I feel like a lot of the viewership is good is because you have like a lot of old diehard fans watching it.
Well, yeah, the audience is built in. It's not so much even to get new fans. It's for something for old fans to watch.
Yeah, that's why I'm just kind of like, you can tell me the viewership is good, but I feel like a lot of it is because like the show itself has like a backing behind it, and like that's the only reason why it's good.
Do you think that backing will stick around for 2 more seasons?
I think like season 2 is really gonna make it or break it for it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If season 2 just flops, I don't know how people are.
They're not sticking around for season 3.
No, definitely not. Like,
this season was kind of held up on the good faith of the original material. Like, people have a lot of good faith for the Avatar franchise because, you know, it's beloved. There's a lot of good stuff in it. And, I mean, the success of One Piece definitely helped give Netflix more credibility. Whereas this, I'm not sure it damaged the credibility of Netflix, but it definitely didn't add to it. So what would you overall rate it from your perspective as Anna?
I'll give it a 6 out of 10. I don't think I will watch it again though.
Okay, but still like an above average viewing experience.
I like appreciate, like I mentioned, I appreciate the world immersion with the costuming and the backgrounds and everything like that. And like we agree on, it's like Zuko and Iroh's like character builders like probably the most solid out of all of them.
Yeah.
But like Zuko and Iroh are not supposedly the main characters in the first book or the second book, you know what I mean?
You could have fooled me.
And like there's so much issue with the plot, there's so much issue with the main characters. That's why like I can give it above average score, but that doesn't mean it's a good score, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely not what would be desired of like, you know, such a great, like something, a high budget thing from a good source material.
Yeah.
I would also give it a 6 out of 10, but I guess for different reasons. Like, they have a lot of stuff I did like episode 5, you know, love that. Episode 6, like all the Kurak stuff, like a lot of good stuff. And I didn't hate like Sokka as much as you did, but like trying to watch it as someone pretending that I've never seen Avatar before, it was a lot of work, and it was really exhausting to kind of do the characterization for the characters myself, as well as connect the plot and like try to make sense of where they are. Even though I enjoyed like a couple of episodes, like to like, you know, 7 or 8 like level degrees, overall like it was just like, if I was just watching this on like by myself without knowing what it was, I would say like it was better than the average thing, but not by a lot. Too many things drag it down.
I feel like, like I mentioned, the only reason why it's doing good right now is because of the fact that it has like such a big fandom, as opposed to like One Piece that has like a fandom mostly based in Japan and people who watch this anime. You know what I mean? Because this is an American cartoon, and I feel like American cartoon like kind of has like a better outreach in a sense. I mean, this is known worldwide, and like they also like when they
got the rights for it for Netflix, like, a lot of people either watched it for the first time or rewatched it. So the fandom is very fresh still.
Yeah, that's why, like, I don't know how long-lived or short-lived this, like, fame is gonna last for it, the live action, to be honest.
I'm in support of them having season 2 and 3 just because, like, I like a lot of the actors. I want them to have jobs, and also, like, if they are people who can take constructive feedback and use it to make a better product, I think it actually could end up being a lot better in season 2 and 3. Like, I don't think the problems that they have in season 1 are not fixable.
With that too, I think, like, if they listen and see where their errors are, then yeah, of course they can definitely make a better season 2 and 3, especially because season 2 and 3 is where all the, like, bigger things starts to happen too.
Yeah, that was kind of the progression in the show as well. Like, season 1 was pretty good, but then, like, season 2 or 3 are when, like, it really became, like, one of the greats.
Yeah, I think, like, but, like, overall, looking at what it's doing for the community, like, the One Piece live action brought more people into One Piece.
Yep.
Atla is not doing the same thing.
No, this is dividing people.
Yeah.
Some people are really liking it. A lot of people are, well, I wouldn't say a lot. Some people are really hating it, and a lot of people are in the middle.
Exactly. Like, I think like, it's almost, I won't say it's unanimous, but, like, One Piece, a lot of people, like, a great majority, like, liked it.
Yeah.
Atla, there's a lot of mixed feelings, mixed reviews for everybody all around. So that doesn't exactly sit well for me in terms of, like, what people are thinking about it.
Yeah. Like, the only way I'd recommend this show in its current form to someone is if they come in with, like, a little bit lowered expectations and just kind of go in to see what it's about. Like, to me, it was more interesting than it was good. Like, learning all the extra bits and, like, seeing how they changed things. It was, like, very interesting, but it didn't hold my attention in its own right.
When Zach watched it, he still liked it, but I'm like, he's just watching it because he's watching it. You know what I mean? He doesn't really, like, watch it because he, like, remembers very much of a lot of the original and stuff like that. So I'm like, maybe it's not as bad. Who knows? I don't know at this point in time.
Yeah, well, something I noticed is, like, after initially making up my mind about how I felt about it, I haven't thought about it since then. This is the first time I've thought about it again.
Like, it doesn't, you're not thinking about it like, wow, I want to tell people more about it. Like, OP, I was like, I want to tell people more about it and try to convince them to watch it. This doesn't give me that same vibe, so that's why I'm just kind of like,
no, it didn't.
It happened.
It didn't leave that much of an impact, like, for better or worse. I hope it ends up good.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. Who knows? Whatever.
That's gonna be the title of the episode. Whatever. Well, anyways, the one brain cell is exhausted, yo, so we're out of here. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.